Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
It doesn't have the longest or most storied history in racing, but it surely doesn't have to. When Bernie Ecclestone couldn't secure a street race in Budapest in 1985, the Hungaroring was built to harness much of the same energy, the same blinding corners, and the same jarring bumps. And after kicking off the season with such brawn and chaos at circuits like Hockenheim, Daytona, and Long Beach, why not go to Hungary next? Hi, welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Hungaroring. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside. And JP, we've had a week off from everything, a week to sit back and reflect on the first 2 months of broadcasting and the first 2 months of racing here in 2022. And we're back tonight then to add to growing storylines as we approach the season's halfway point. We're getting really to the precipice almost of the season.
We're on round number 4 of 8. It's crazy that it has passed so quickly, but it's just amazing to see these guys racing, the closeness battles between all classes, the amateur, the pro-ams, and the pro drivers. It has absolutely been insane. The stories we've got, throughout all 3 races so far in Hockenheim, in Daytona, and at Long Beach, it has been absolutely crazy, and Hungaroring is definitely only going to add to that story. This is a challenging circuit. It's definitely going to bring new challenges to the drivers, obviously a bit more breathing room than Long Beach, but, it's Monaco without barriers, so it's not going to be without its challenges.
There's certainly always a whole lot to talk about here when we come to Hungary, no matter what the series, no matter what the circumstances. There's always storylines that I think take the forefront of many minds, and always storylines that are ready to be written. If you recall back to the GT3 race here last go-around, Bryce Rodriguez, Scott Reister, they had a big moment, and Matthew Dench was in all of that. We had a big flip in turn 2, lap 1 with GT3 cars here, so we'll see how things go today. Let's go trackside, get a look here at, of course, the virtual Hungaroring. I'm excited for this one. This feels like kind of the first proper circuit not named Hockenheim Ring, and I don't mean proper circuit in a bad way, because Daytona and Long Beach are fantastic racing courses, and I would happily broadcast a race either one any day. But when you think of tracks for Porsche Cup racing, I think Hungaroring fits that mold just a little bit better, which is weird because Hungaroring has always broken the mold for Formula One and motorsport worldwide. Of course, it was the first Formula One race east of the Iron Wall back in the 80s and in the Cold War. So it always has kind of broken the mold just a little bit. It's always been a little bit different, yet it feels like a return to a little bit of normalcy for us this season, the way things have gone.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of a bit of a contrast as well. In F1, as you mentioned, it's kind of used as the breakaway point to, essentially stop the season, let the drivers rest. For us, is our return point. So the drivers will have more time. They had more time to practice, and this is an amazing course, Andrew. I absolutely loved playing this on the Formula One games. Haven't had the opportunities to play on iRacing, and I know it's going to be much better being laser scanned. And this circuit, is just fun. I love the aspect of the circuit. I know not a lot of people like it, but I just love, the layout, the middle sector, how everything, just kind of follows into one line and you have to be really smooth. I just love it.
Now, these cars today, before we get fully into practice and qualifying and everything, these cars today so far are lapping at just above a GT2 pace, and that GT2 lap record set in 2010 by by a Ferrari F430. That's a pretty cool stat to include. So yeah, these guys are moving here today. We're going to see some pretty cool lap times. These Porsche Cup cars as well. I think an interesting combo to bring to Hungaroring. Let's take a look at standings this far into the season. Just 3 races complete. Go back to Hockenheim, then Daytona, Long Beach 2 weeks ago, and now it's Hungary. And this is how things look. Victor Miranda takes over top of the board with Luke Kraus and a race win in 2nd place. Matthew Dench there in 3rd, Nick Ludicky 4th, and Spencer Kostowitz there in 5th. You got to go all the way down to 7th now, JP, to find Andre Melchers after his meltdown, if you will. I don't want to use maybe not meltdown, but after his bad luck, certainly, at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago. If you head over to Pro-Am, though, it's kind of interesting. Lawrence Davidil in kind of an interesting situation. Paulo Godai there in 2nd place, and Scott Kimbrough 3rd. They've each got a 1 race win in Pro-Am. They're all on the top of the board in Pro and Pro-Am, and if you look at Amateur, things get, I think, even more interesting. Of course, this will be the first race up. Augustine Castro in 1st by a 5-point margin over Alex Persian and Brian Zinn, who are both tied, and those are, as we talked about last week at Long Beach, the 3 race winners in Amateur, which is really interesting as well, that cream is rising to the top so early in the season. I think guys like Teague Ashburn and Max Tankerell certainly stand out to me. Diego Eda there even in 7th place. Aubrey Kundal, Bobby Flackman very good, Jay Shallington. Everybody in that top 10 feels like they should be in that top 10. And even as you look down to drivers like Ilya Speaker, Armando Bejeron, and even Joshua Benjamin, William Coffey, they've all been strong.
Absolutely, everybody has been strong in. I guess the championship, especially in NARL, it just highlights, the consistency of the drivers. We mentioned, Andrew, time and time again, that consistency is the key. I guess it must be, the 3 words that we speak the most, at least we talk it about on each and every single broadcast, and the championship shows that. The top 3 drivers on the Amateur are the 3 drivers that have won. Teague Ashburn in 4th place, the first driver who hasn't won, but only 16 points behind. And we saw on the pro side that, even though Andre has won 2 races, his bad luck 2 weeks ago at Long Beach have dropped him all the way down to 7th place, 28 points behind a driver who has not won yet, only finished in 2nd place. So consistency for this driver is key, and you can definitely win a championship without winning races if you're just, always in the top 5, top 10, always guaranteeing, a good finishing position.
And you can see just how hard it is to maintain that consistency. Go back a month ago today, and we opened the season at Hockenheim. Then it was to Daytona. So 2 draft battle racetracks, sure, but with a whole lot of differences in between. Long Beach doesn't fit the bill for any of these courses on the schedule. And I know we're getting into a little bit of normalcy here with Hungaroring and Spa next week, but Charlotte's going to break that mold all over again March 29th. Then it's Road Atlanta April 5th and Red Bull Ring. That actually will be shifted to April 19th. That's actually something we got to change there from April 12th to April 19th for the Red Bull Ring to crown up this championship. So there's so little opportunity to get consistent and so little opportunity to settle in this schedule. I'm honestly surprised that we see any group of winners towards the top of the board, because I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the rest of the season go to where, somebody can win one week and be completely dead last the next. It wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, absolutely not. It's just completely different racing courses. And I guess, just highlights the practice and the dedication that some of these drivers put in this league. Obviously, we talked, week in and week out with some of the winners. They mentioned they put, 20, 30 hours of practice, for these races. So it's just going to be amazing. And, I'm just really excited to see what these drivers are going to put us for at Hungaroring, because, this is a tricky course, Andrew. This is not a, as you mentioned, I guess you can call it a run in the mill. It's just not an easy course.
It really isn't. Here's a look at Brian Long. If we want to find the practice leader so far today, well, that would be one Agustin Castro. And is that any surprise, honestly? No, it's not. As Agustin sits in the pit lane, there's a good look at his number 014 Porsche. John Kroom, 2nd place, currently in practice in car 45. May have just had a bit of an incident there. Diego Era in 3rd, Will Coffey 4th, and you got to go down to Todd Malik to find 5th place. And these are some tight margins as well. From Tankerell to Malik, 6th to 5th, it is 1/1000th of a second, and from Malik to Coffey for 5th to 4th, that is also 1/1000th of a second. These are tight margins already in practice, and it goes all the way down the board. The entire field within 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy. Obviously, practice times are going to differ. Some drivers are going to be running full fuel. Some drivers are going to be sandbagging a little bit, and others are just going to be straight up in qualifying pace. Obviously, it's going to be interesting, but, again, Drew, the gap between first and second, 2.5 tenths, and between first and third, 4.5 tenths, that's already a big gap, and that's going to be interesting to see if it holds out on qualifying. Now we're on board with Clarence Rosa, and we can kind of get an onboard again of what Hungaroring is and how tricky it is to nail each and every single apex in each and every single lap around here.
It's not easy, and this is still early in the lap. That's just through turns 2 and 3. This will work up to turn 4, and I think this is actually one of the hardest corners for me personally, trying to figure out exactly how fast I need to go here. The track almost falls away a little bit, and in an F1 car, in anything with a lot of downforce, it's not so bad. You've got a decent feel of what the car is going to do, and it's going to trust you, but then, exactly like that, in these Porsche Cup cars, there just isn't that same level of downforce. There is not that same level of security, and it's very easy to end up the wrong way round here at Hungary. Here's a look at Jean Karadek and a few other drivers as we finish up practice. Here's Teague Ashburn as well for Samsoid Kanan Esports. Armando Ejaran is out there in car 05. We've even got Miguel Cardozo in car 49 for Junkos Esports, and Robert Guadagnoli out there in car 64. So that should, and that does, wrap things up for practice, which means qualifying now up next, and a good chance to see how, I guess, the cream is going to rise to the top for the first time today. Of course, qualifying means a lot in these races. We've learned that over the course of time. This is the first time where things really start to matter for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the drivers are going to have only a handful of laps, to complete, to absolutely nail it, because this can be, I guess what it all matters. We saw last round 2 weeks ago what can happen if you're the championship leader and sometimes you don't get the best qualifying position or not where you used to be. So, the championship could really shift on, depending on the position that you start the race. So a lot of these drivers are going to be giving their absolute best, and I sure do hope they do. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these cars are going to react being pushed to the absolute limit, and how the drivers will react as well. And Andrew, as you mentioned, turn 4, turn 5, and 6, this corner right here, it would be interesting to see if on race pace we're going to have a few slowdown penalties.
Oh, off-tracks are already the topic of conversation for most of these drivers out here. The Discord server filled up with topics, relating to off-tracks and getting penalties and just trying to manage that throughout the race. A 15 incident limit might sound like a whole lot at a place like Daytona where it's easy not to drop a wheel unless you're at the bus stop. But at a place like Hockenheim where things are so tight, and I know you always call it the Monaco without barriers, and I think that's a pretty fair comparison, where it feels a bit like a street circuit and it's got those tight corners and really no runoff room. It's very, very easy to just get the wheel off just like that for Dominic Jagot through turn 7, was it there, out of the chicane. So very, very easy to drop a wheel here.
Oh, absolutely. And as soon as you drop a wheel, especially on this middle sector right here, you're just going to be compromised throughout the whole sector up until the point you reach turn 13. And that's definitely not what any driver wants, just being compromised for the whole sector. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's the nature of Hockenheim, and I guess that's one of the reasons you either love or hate this circuit. Now you can see a few extra drivers starting off, and looks like just warming up the turns. Now here we have the number 79 of Alex Persian. Looks like he's coming out of turn 7. No, that's the middle sector already. Looks like he's coming into turn 13 to start off the third sector in the F1. Yes, he is. So, yeah, Andrew, this is, the last time he has to, essentially breathe, because at this moment in time, you just put on autopilot and you try to hit each and every single apex as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and hope the lap is good enough.
And we always talk about it mostly with British sim racers. I think that's where it really ends up shining the most because of the multiple race sessions, but it's good to bring up here as well with the North American Racing League weather. 71 degrees almost Fahrenheit, 74-degree track temp. That's not too bad, and these races do take place in the morning in sim just about, if not every week, so that's pretty manageable already, but very manageable temperatures, I think, for a place like Hockenheim. Maybe a little warmer than some of these drivers might want, or even a little cooler than some might want, depending on their preferences as to how the car will handle, but not too bad, perfectly manageable, almost in that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, absolutely. 23 degrees Celsius. It's cool. Almost as cool as it can be. So I'm pretty sure most of these drivers will be thanking that temperature. But as you mentioned, it's personal preferences. Some other drivers may have practice on warmer weather, and that's just gonna be the nature of it. You can see a few extra drivers looks like starting their lap, and some maybe even getting close to the end of the lap. You can see here Mike Brown approaching turn 14. heavy braking zone, but a really fast corner. You can see he's going to be doing in second gear, trying to stretch a little bit on the exit on the AstroTurf. And then you have the tricky turn 15, which is, it kind of feels off camber, but it's really just flat, so you're just trusting the front tires. And then the last corner, F1 drivers kind of worried that the back end will stick out. These drivers going as close as they can to the apex. Kroom goes fastest of 147.0. Mike Braun, does he improve on that? 147.3. And Ilya Speaker, 146.9, early pole position.
We'll see, of course, how things change as the session goes on. A good onboard here with Mike Braun down to the turn 1 braking zone. Just about 4/10 off pole. William loves so far the slowest of the qualifiers out there with sim racing for simpletons, and he's faster than Zachariah Rosar. And I think a few are going to slide in underneath, and I think these guys are going to move up as well. So I actually look for these guys that are a little bit lower on lap 1 as Pierre Thompson goes purple. I look for some of these guys that are a bit slower right now to maybe pick up as the laps go on, because if you have that slower first lap, maybe you didn't abuse the tires as much, or maybe you made a mistake, sure, but that gives you reason to try and grow from that, right? So I look for these guys that are a bit lower lap 1 to move up a whole lot in their qualifying attempts. Alex Pershing goes 7th, Brian Zinn 6th, and I am looking for Agustin Castro. I don't think Agustin has a lap in just yet. How about Steven Grabowski? Let's go on board with car 48.
Just finishing up the lap around the last corner, powering through, trying not to get an off-track. You can see car kind of misbehaving on the exit with 151.1, so maybe a mistake throughout the lap, maybe in the middle sector, maybe the first sector, but definitely 4.1 seconds off the pace. That's not his full-on pace for the race. He's definitely going to be improving a lot on this lap, Andrew. I expect him to see him close to the top 10, and maybe, who knows, the top 5. As you can see now, Agostini Castro coming up to turns, looks like turns 13 maybe, just finishing up the second sector of the race course, and well, at this point you're nearly on the home stretch.
We'll drop the nose of the braking zone in turn 12. And that is also a really tough place to get a car to just turn in, especially these Porsche Cup cars trying to manage that or lack thereof ABS. As Brian Zinn goes faster, and then Ilya Speaker, purple, top of the board. How about Diego Eda there? Goes top with a 146.820. We'll see what Agustin can do here. Of course, a couple of poles to his name already. And out of turn 14, where can car 014 go? It is pole.
Oh, yeah.
We're waiting on it. He might have dropped a wheel.
No. Yeah, it may have been on the final corner. We saw that car going really close to those 4 wheels on the curb. Did he invalidate on the final corner?
He may have. I don't know. It didn't look like it was anything too out of the ordinary, and turn 14 is pretty forgiving, but he clearly did not let that lap count. It would have gone pole at a 146.6. That's pole by almost 2/10 over Diego.
Oh, and another thing I just remember, I noticed on the final corner on turn 14, he took a bit of a wider line to get a better exit, so maybe he invalidated that lap, you know, in the middle part of the lap, and he was just lining up to a better exit into turn 1 in the main straightaway. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye. Rasmussen, 0.6 of a second off of pole, just outside the top 10, looks like. So he's going to try to improve that. Yeah, he's currently 14th place, and the gaps are so close, Andrew. We can see the top 3 less than half a tenth.
Here's a look
it's close.
Oh, absolutely. It is very, very tight. And well, actually, Ilya Speaker, Brian Zinn, when they had their switchback of pole time, that was by just 3/1000ths of a second, which is, I mean, that's as close as you can get in a NASCAR finish, for example. I mean, that is nothing. Bobby Flack up to second in car 22. There's a couple of new drivers in this field, one of them being Eric Staropoli that we're watching in car 55. No paint scheme on that car just yet, but I don't mind this metallic silver. It looks pretty good as he's working to get his first time to lap in. And actually, he's had a few attempts already, a couple of off tracks, it seems. As Sean Patterson just went green. Armando Bejaran as well. Sean Patterson got up ahead of Milan Harris, and Armando Bejaran got ahead of Max Tankerell. And let's look for that one Agustin Castro across the line. It's a 46.3. Does it count? Wow. No. Yes, it does.
Well, and that's a massive gap. William Coffey got the pole by what, 0.2 of a second, nearly 0.3, and then Castro beat him by another 0.2 of a second. So, wow, indeed.
Wow. Yeah,
That's a
you're right. That was a
performance.
3/10 gap for Will Coffey back to Agustin Castro. Now Will going to try a couple of standing starts, and Agustin goes up there and takes it by another couple of tenths. Alex Persian goes 12th. So maybe the first week that we see Alex Persian falter a little bit and start to drop down the order as, let's see, I'm even looking through, and Brian Zinn is even 7th in qualifying. So maybe not the start that those couple of guys are going to have wanted, but certainly not a bad qualifying effort at all. Here's Julio Contreras in car 525, position 22 so far in qualifying, just ahead of Sean Patterson and chasing Armando Bejaran. Teague Ashburn is in 20th. Dan Willis has just gone green, a little bit faster there across the line for Maradness Esports, and that is position 25 then for car 127.
And you can see a few extra cars finish up the qualifying efforts. You can see here Clarence Rosa trying to improve, finally 2.4 seconds away from pole, so definitely still a bit of time to be found there. You can see a few of these curbs, Andrew, they're deadly on an F1 car. I wonder how these cars will react under, full tanks of fuel on these curves, especially around this chicane. You can see a bit of sausage curb. I wonder if these cars can take up any damage by those sausage curbs.
I don't think we'll see, we're certainly not going to see crazy suspension failures or anything like that. Toto's not going to be in the ear of anybody telling them to stay off the curb or anything like that, but it could certainly get these cars unsettled, which leads to crashes, and that leads to damage. I don't think we'll see any hubs explode or anything like that. We're not going to see anything crazy, but it's definitely a concern to stay off some of the curbing. I think more so for the handling aspect here on iRacing. Sometimes those suspension components get built out of, the best military-grade steel you can find on the sim. It seems like they don't really fail, but you do certainly want to stay off of them just so you don't crash yourself, as Clarence Rose is cutting it close here out of turn 14. Can he get a time in? No, he won't, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, just fell short of improving that lap, so he's going to be stuck with that lap time 2.4 seconds behind pole. So, yeah. We're going to have our field, Andrew. We have over 35 cars, if I'm not mistaken, so a full grid. You can see some drivers are starting on the final corner as well, but Agustini Castro, he's definitely not going to have any worries because he's starting on pole. Alongside of him, the number 57 of William Coffey in second place. That's going to be a beautiful front row to watch. Third place goes to Max Tankerall in the number 14, the number 77 of Diego Ari on his outside in fourth place. Fifth place to Bobby Fleck in the number 22, and the 03 of Ilya Speaker in sixth place. Row number 4, we're going to have on the inside lane Brian Zinn in the number 23 and the number 118 of Pierre Thompson on his outside in 8th place. And row number 5, we're going to have John Kroom, the number 45, the number 66 of Jean Cataract in the outside.
Starting from position 11, you'll find Sim Racing for Simpletons' own Brian Long. Alex Persian will start from 12th. Starting 13th, Scott Angelo, car 168 with Aubrey Kundal in 14th. Todd Malik rolls off 15th today in car 150. Then it's Mike Braun starting from the 16th position. How about that for car 107? Dominic Turcotte rolls off 17th. It's Eric Starapoli starting from 18th in his first start with the series. Andrew Rasmussen starts from 19th in car 11. And it's Teague Ashburn starting 20th.
21st place goes to Armando Bejaran in the 05. The number 525 of Julio Contreras is going to start in 22nd. 23rd place will go to Sean Patterson, the number 54, and the number 69 of Milan Harris in 24th place. 25th will go to Dan Willis in the number 127, and the number 42 of Nicholas Kais in 26th. 27 to Andrea Divac in the number 12, and the number 28 of William Valdez in 28th. 29th will go to Stefan Grabowski in the number 48 and the number 98 of Clarence Rosa in 30th place.
Starting 31st, you'll find William Love and Jeff Castillo 32nd. Miguel Cardoso, starts from the 33rd position in car 49. It's Robert Guadagnoli starting 34th. I can finish, I promise. Zachary Rosar starting from 35th. It's Joshua Benjamin 36th. Dave Pickram 37th. And Daniel Harris starts 38th. And we got a whole grid in. Can you believe it? For a standing start. Green flag is out in Hungary. Oh, land rush to turn 1. I saw a couple of cars adjusting there mid-corner, trying to find the right line, trying to not hit the car out front as we rushed out of turn number 2. The elevation change here at Hungaroring, it's pretty interesting. It's a whole lot of fun to deal with, especially into the second corner. Cold tires, cold brakes, and a whole lot of cars to hit.
Absolutely. Looks like the whole field nearly makes it through. It looks like maybe everybody made it through. Now, obviously, the car that... Oh, I spoke too soon. We have a few cars spun around on the exit of turn 2. More contact. We saw a car in the air. We saw one car almost threading the needle. But looks like 90% of the cars, at least 95%, made it through the first sector. You can see here the leader already pushing towards the first quick chicane. You can see turns 6 and 7. And, well, Andrew... Well, at least a simple line, a simple straight line between all cars, and more contact.
That might have been Armando Bejeron going around in the chicane, and yes, it was. He's backwards now as the whole field goes on by. Initially, it was Andrea Divatz that was turned around, in turn number 2 with a whole bunch of other cars as well. Boy, what a lap 1. And we're used to this lap 1 chaos, I think, on Hungaroring. It's not going to be quite as bad the rest of the race, I think, as compared to, one car goes locking up through 12. It's certainly not going to be the kind of chaos we saw at Long Beach by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. But lap 1 here is always a little bit chaotic. And let's be honest, 38 cars, it's never to go completely smoothly, right? I mean, this is a pretty tight racetrack, a pretty short racetrack. Lap 1 has always been pretty exciting.
Oh, absolutely. It certainly is going to happen. It's racing. It happens on each and every single class of motorsports. So, it was bound to happen here. As mentioned, 38 cars, people are battling for positions, especially on the tightness of turns 1 and 2. And you can see a few of the onboard sections around here. You can see even battling for position down into turn 1. And this is going to... Oh, we have a car dive bombing down the inside. And, well, it looks like he makes it stick. So, do we have a Daniel Ricciardo on our field?
That was Teague Ashburn, a really aggressive line there for turn 2. We've got a battle up front, actually. Brian Zinn bringing some heat to Max Tankerell, getting that spot as well. That's good for second for car 23. And look at this, Diego Eda and William Coffey doing battle as they go up to turn 4.
That's amazing. Normally, the car on the inside has a bit of the advantage, and yes, the number 77 retains that position for the time being. And this is kind of, the story around Hungaroring, Andrew. If you have the inside line, well, you're probably going to have that position. It's really difficult. As you can see, even more cars looking, especially on this tight chicane. I wasn't expecting Bobby Flack to look down the inside, but he's definitely thought about it.
Well, sometimes, right, you get in a little bit deep, you just got to manage that braking zone. As Milan Harris with an issue, and that's not even returning us a camera, interesting. Zachariah Rosar as well, Milan Harris, some big issues here deeper in the field. They have to tow back to the pit lane, and they are likely done. But let's go back up front. Brian Zinn got a race win last week at Long Beach, looking pretty good in car 23, but is a ways back of Agustin Castro. Max Tankerell third, Diego Eda there in fourth, Will Coffey and Bobby Flack 5th and 6th, John Kroom 7th, and Aubrey Kundle headed in the wrong direction. Some big shakeups back here.
Yeah, a few shakeups. You can see a big, cluster of car, I guess you can say. 4 cars battling for position. You can see, I'm not quite sure who's going to come out on top, but looks like a bit of distance. And as we come into the final corner, they kind of, single line once again. You can see here, trying to get a better exit. Oh, and we have a car spun around, looks like on the second to last corner.
Dominic Turcotte is going to have a long time waiting for the freight train to pass on by, and he will finally get an opening there behind Julio Contreras. Julio will come on in from position 29, it looks like, in the pit lane. You have to wonder that might be due to either damage, if we can bring up the pit lane cameras here. I would imagine damage. That left front is certainly worse for wear for car 25.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be, forced to come down into pit lane to get that fixed up. That's going to be costing him a lot of positions, but, on the long run, it's definitely going to be worth it, to get that car just like that fixed. And, good to go. You can see the number 23 of Brian Zinn holding off Max Tankerell for second place, and you can see even third place is very close. But look at that gap that Agustin Castro has already built up to them, Andrew.
Oh, yeah, this line of cars is very close, but Agustin Castro's got 4 seconds on them all, and if I'm going to be honest, I don't know that you're catching car 014 tonight. He's just been so good this season, and I know this season's young still, but that car has just been on rails every week. He's always a factor, and certainly is showing why he's got the points lead at this point in this young season. And you know what? You have to consider, do you promote him, up to Pro-Am at the very least, if not Pro, next season?
We've had that happen before, haven't we? I guess it was last season of NARL in the GT3.
Well, it won't happen here from Am to Pro-Am. Now, that's not going to happen mid-season, but I mean after this season, he's got to go up, right?
Oh, absolutely. The gap that, he already has after a few laps, 4 seconds. If he continues this pace throughout the season, definitely next season we should expect him in Pro-Am, and with the pace that he's showing, he would be very good at that class as well.
Let's go a little further back as Agustin goes purple that lap, 146.554. This is on board with Eric Sarapoli. working on Teague Ashburn. Teague made that big move in turn 1 that you saw a little while ago, and I believe it was on Eric Staropoli as well. So these two will battle down to turn number 1 as they begin their 4th lap on the circuit. Expecting 17 in this race, and of course, no pit stops here as Teague Ashburn will take defensive line for turn 1. Staropoli sits back, and that is not such a defensive line when you drive yourself off the race course, now is it?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Unfortunately, going down the inside to defend that position ended up costing him not only that position, but looks like he's going to fall victim of another driver behind him. So unfortunately for him, did not work too well. And that's the nature. Sometimes you defend, sometimes you're going to lose. You can see Max Tinkerell going down the inside of Brian Zinn. Brian goes really, well, confidently on the outside lane, makes it work, and no.
Diego Era with big trouble out of turn 4 and all of that battling, and he's got some damage, and such a great season for him so far has gone the wrong way. Brian Zinn and Tinkerell still battling. Look at this. Will Coffey now going to insert himself. This is a big battle. Oh, man. William Coffey got very close. Bobby Flack had to give way to Will. And side by side now for second place. Tinkerell on the outside there. Brian Zinn having to give up a little bit. Now he'll have the inside.
He's going to have the inside. You can see Will and Coffey trying maybe to get a better racing line. He wasn't able to do it. Bobby Flack might have something to do with him. Maybe challenge. You can see the number 57. You can see Bobby Flack on the inside. The number 57 is going to have to go on the outside lane. Now he's going to have the inside for this corner right here. And he should retain that position. Yes, he does. But Andrew, the battle for second place is only heating up. And you can see, look at how many cars are in this battle. This is crazy.
This really is. I mean, this is really good stuff. A big thanks to, of course, Virtual Racing School, VRS, as well as Muradness, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting for everything they do with this series. I'll be honest. I won't mince words here. I was a little bit intrigued, I suppose. Maybe, yeah, Porsche Cup, it's awesome. I really enjoy it. First of all, it produces great racing, great cars to drive, but I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to mesh here with a field of drivers that knew ABS. They knew the GT3 cars and how that adjustment was going to be, but everybody here are putting so much effort into this series and getting these drivers up to speed with any differences. Of course, there are plenty of differences between, for example, the normal GT3 spec 911 and these Porsche Cup cars. Plenty of differences, but these drivers have picked up right away. I think even from Hockenheimring, just amazing, amazing racing. Everybody's had things at least mostly under control. A few guys have maybe been, experiencing that learning curve, but VRS and Muradness especially have done so much to get these drivers up to speed and get these drivers racing at high quality.
Absolutely, and it has shown, it has reflected, that work that VRS and Muradness have put in on these. You can see great racing. You can see a lot of drivers adapting to the car and, just showing their strengths and weaknesses, obviously, as well. And, that all produces great racing, and that's what we're here for, isn't we, Andrew? We're just out here to have fun. And obviously, these guys make our jobs a lot easier 99% of the times, and well, I just absolutely love seeing these close racing, and I'm pretty sure all these drivers are also having a lot of fun behind the wheel.
Definitely, this is just very, very fun stuff as a whole, and the North American Racing League being so kind to bring us back season after season, it seems like so far, is certainly an honor and a privilege in and of its own. So, I really do love covering this series. I've made so many friends. And I was actually talking to my buddy David Levine about this earlier this week. I've made so many just small, kind of random friends at different points throughout my time covering this series. Just meeting new people, talking to them, and Lawrence Davidiel, talking with him about his Miata that he owns in a post-race interview. That's just so cool. That's stuff that you don't get in every series, and to have that here is very, very important, and certainly is something very, very cool. Let's get back to the racing action for a moment. We'll stick all that back aside for just the time being. Alex Persian took a look there at Brian Long, and now Brian Long gets a bit of a run at Ilya Speaker potentially for turn number 2. Really good battles the entire field through. Yeah,
absolutely. The entire field is very close. I was just following the battles on the timing sheets, and it's just crazy to see in all these times very, very close. And it's just going to be the norm, Andrew. We still have 20 minutes of racing, 20 minutes of still action, and 20 minutes of these guys battling. And this is just a taste of what we're going to have on the next race with the Pro-Ms and the Pro drivers. This is absolutely crazy, and I'm just so happy to be back here. As you can see, a few drivers making more mistakes. Is that Rasmussen going wide?
It was. Andrew Rasmussen a little wide there in 5. Now sets back up for 6 and 7. That right-left flick of a chicane, contact there with Kundal. But all is fair in love and war. A little bit of contact never hurt nobody in racing. That's what I like about these cars as well. They're not GT3 cars, so maybe a little more dainty in a way, and they're certainly not stock cars, so they definitely are a lot more sensitive than those, but you can definitely rub a little bit. You can definitely have a little bit of contact to keep racing. It's not too much of a concern if you do make that little bit of contact. It's not going to get the car too crazy upset. You're not going to kill the guy or anything like that. You're going to be able to keep racing after just a little bit of a boop there, if you will.
Yeah, and that, also helps the drivers, helps us, and it gives them a little bit of margin of error. Obviously, we saw Rasmussen making that small mistake on the chicane, and that ended up giving him a little bit of contact. If it was, maybe a Formula 1 car, that could have been raced over, but luckily for him, it wasn't. This is returning to a battle for second place, and well, first place is absolutely gone. We cannot even see him on the shot, but Max Tinkerell is trying to hold off. Looks like a 3-car group right behind him, so up until Bobby Flack, we're still having a 4-car battle for second.
And you can see bottom right that live time gap up to Agustin Castro. It's 9 seconds and growing now as this race goes on. On board with Tankerell, Brian Zinn, a bit of a moment there at turn 2. William Coffey just behind Bobby Flack there as well. It's just that one big bit of separation as Diego Eda now goes after it with Eric Staropoli. These guys are further back, battling for the 13th position. This is actually a really good battle as Diego takes that spot back from Staropoli. But the entire field is very, very close together. I feel like at least through most of it, except for race leader Agustin Castro. He has just taken off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's on a zip code by himself, just a postal code ahead of the field. And, well, the pace that he's been showing, Andrew, has, well, nothing short of excellent, to be honest. Qualifying was just on a class of his own, and lap after lap, we saw him posting, I guess it was 3 or 4 laps, 4 purple laps in a row. So the pace is his. The race to lose is his at this point. So he just has to nurse the car home, and he'll have another victory. And he'll be the first repeated winner of the amateur class.
Wouldn't that be something? I know, of course, Andre Melchers was the first repeat winner of this season, winning at Hockenheimring, then Daytona. But other than that, it's been a different winner every single race in every single class. So we'll see how things go today as Agustin Castro looks to change that. Will Coffey putting some pressure back on Brian Zinn. This is for third.
Yeah, you can see Brian Zinn lost a bit of contact to Max Tankerell, but, unfortunately, that lost contact is going to offer William Coffey a chance. He's going to look to the outside. Brian Zinn kind of closes that door. That's going to be extremely close. It could be contact. Coffey's going to try to stick around the outside. Unfortunately, the car's going to be losing a little bit of grip. Maybe on the exit, he gets a better run. Looks like it was pretty much equal between those two, so unless a dive bomb comes into turns 2, yeah, not quite happening. So they're going to retain that position. But Andrew, this is getting closer. Max Tinkerell is enjoying this because he's kind of just driving away 10th by 10th.
Good views up front. Let's fall back once more in the field. And let's see a battle with Alex Persian and Brian Long. Persian still in 10th, Long in 9th. These guys are ahead of Andrew Rasmussen, Aubrey Kundal, Todd Malik, and Diego Eda, even Staropoli wrapping up your top 15. It's Ashburn, Braun, Willis, and Patterson, and even Valdez wrapping up your top 20. And actually, we might even have a good little battle here between Karadek and Valdez for that 20th spot. Here's a look with John Karadek. This is a good little string of cars. Sean Patterson, 19th, William Valdez, 20th, and John Karadek here at 21st.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love seeing 3-car battles. I love seeing car battlings around race course. Doesn't matter which one it is, but Jean is trying to close in the gap between those two. Obviously, at this point, he might just be, biding his time, waiting for those two to battle to essentially, bring that gap to him naturally. But, this battle, Andrew, is definitely far from home. You can see the driver ahead of him making a small mistake, missing a little bit the apex, and that's just how quickly the gap can shorten between you and your competition. Just a small, a meter and a half away from the apex, that could cost you a lot, as we have even more battles around here. You can see the number 127 just driving around the outside, and this is something I love, Andrew. Driving around the outside of someone always feels special, and they're still gonna battle around the last corner. And looks like for the time being, that's position done. And it looks like Rasmussen has a bit of a problem.
Rasmussen off pace at a turn 14, going to give up some time and some positions. Drops down to 15th, and here comes Teague Ashburn looking for 16th. A challenge in the braking zone there. Can Ashburn get it? No, not just yet. Ashburn will have to try in a different corner. So position 16 then stays the same as, we might even have a challenge here from Dan Willis on Teague Ashburn. Willis got a good run out of turn 1. Side by side around the outside now there. And Sean Patterson with a problem.
Oh, just on the outside of turn 1 looks like. So maybe a little bit of contact with him. He gets back rolling. looks like maybe even more damage. He went really wide into turn 2. You can see even more battle as he up into turn 4. Rasmussen keeps that position for the time being, goes a little bit wide. And Andrew, with 14 minutes to go, could some of these drivers start to worry about those instant points, those off tracks, those contacts?
Yes, you certainly could, as Brian Long is backwards in the chicane, now gets back going. I think that really has been a concern from moment number 1 in this race, certainly from the drop of the green flag, but now it's getting more and more of an apparent concern for some of these drivers. Just little 1Xs, and this track is relatively forgiving, but also has FIA standard track limit rules, so you've got to be pretty careful.
Absolutely, and if you're not, we're going to see drivers going through the pit lane, which is really going to kill their race, especially on how close the whole field is. But, I'm pretty sure most of you drivers are going to be very, very careful with those instant points. As you can see, even more battles on the last corner. A bit of distance between these two drivers, but, oh, Andrew, 13 minutes. I'm kind of running out of breath. 2 weeks out kind of takes a toll on us.
And these are two that we've not really talked about yet today. Ilya Speaker in car 03 in position number 7, and Scott Angelo in car 168 in position number 8. Ilya a bit deep there into turn 1. Can Scott take advantage? Certainly going to give it a shot. And they will go side by side down to turn number 2 this time, just ahead of Alex Persian, who is now at a 9th position. Aubrey Kundal taking over 10th. And a lock up there, certainly from Ilya Speaker, and problems for Will Coffey now, under fire from Bobby Flack. This is a good little battle just ahead of these guys.
Yeah, Bobby Flack is going to have the inside to turn 4. He should get that position unless William Coffey really battles. This kind of reminds me of Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton on the last Hungarian Grand Prix, but looks like William Coffey unfortunately lost 4th place, almost lost 5th place as well to Kroom right behind him. So William, unfortunately, after putting in a tag for 3rd place, unfortunately lost that position, and that's just the nature of racing. Sometimes you attack, sometimes you have to defend. So right now he needs to put those shoes back on attack mode and try and get that 4th place back from Bobby Flack.
And I know we feel the vice grip of one car off. We feel the vice grip of the finish looming for these guys, and certainly starting to get a little bit tighter as moments go by, but there's still a lot of racing left. 12 minutes and change, as you can see Miguel Cardozo in the grass there in turn 11. 12 minutes and change. There's still a lot that's going to change in this race. A lot is going to turn over on its head, and these battles are certainly short from over. These tires are going to continue to wear out, certainly, and mistakes like this are going to impact drivers' days, and certainly could impact other drivers' days, even if it is a single car impact here for Miguel Cardozo. He could have an incident later on, or could have spun and involved somebody, so even the smallest of things will have big impacts on this race in these last 10 minutes or so.
Oh, absolutely, and I wonder what kind of incident Miguel had to make his car so damaged. His car was crabbing, as we saw on the straightaway, so definitely a big hit to maybe a wall. Definitely hurt his race. As you can see, another number 79 of Alex Persian trying to get close to Scott Angelo right ahead of him down into turn 2, looking down the inside. Unfortunately, not too close. As you can see, just getting closer and closer. Now the onboard camera a bit of Angelo's car right behind me. You can see just how close Persian got to him. And that's the nature. Persian is on 9th place, Andrew, so definitely not the race we kind of expected from him.
No, I would have expected car 79 to be much higher in the field. Now, it makes sense for Zinn to be 3rd. I think that's pretty normal. Feels about right. He's been top 3 so far this season, but I would have expected much more out of Alex Persian today, so certainly I think a misstep for him there as we watch this battle for the 8th position. Aubrey Kundal there in 10th, joining in on the fun. 3 cars at a line.
3 cars aligned once again. This is kind of what we love to see. And you can see Angelo kind of falling under pressure from Persian, going a little bit wide on the exit, compromising essentially his whole second sector. And you can see just how good of a run Persian got just by being close to the apex, just being on the proper racing line. He's going to line up alongside of him, and he's going to get that position already. So Persian up into 8th place. Maybe Angelo will have to defend ENS. He will have to defend from Aubrey Kundal. But looks like for the time being, he keeps that position as they approach the final corner, turn 14. Can Angelo maybe line up a move to get that place back? No, he's still going defensive, Andrew. So, unfortunately, looks like his confidence was a bit dented by a few of those mistakes. He's having to compromise a few corners to make sure he's ahead of his competition.
While these guys get things sorted out, Andrew Rasmussen and Dan Willis were just very close in turn 14. Andrew Rasmussen, for the moment, hanging on to that spot over Dan Willis and G. Gashburn. This has been an ongoing battle for some time. And oh, Alex Persian, a problem in turn 1. That's tire barriers for car 79.
Wow. All right. Well, it could be a number of things, but I wonder if it's just maybe a hardware failure under braking or maybe even in contact with another driver. But to go on the tire barriers, that's definitely a big incident. You can see the number 79. What happens to him? Does he just... Oh, he just locks up the rears?
Yep.
Wow.
Really, really easy to do in these cars. Really easy to do.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for him. He's going to be kicking himself after that one.
Let's ride on board with Alex Persian on this mistake in turn 1 and realistically, race ending, potentially championship hope ending. I think you've got to be perfect with guys like Brian Zinn and Agustin Castro out there. You can't have a mistake like this impact your season.
Oh, absolutely not. Those self-inflicted wounds, they're gonna, well, as you mentioned, hurt not only your race, but your season as well as a whole. We talked about how precious consistency is on a championship, and mistakes like that definitely won't happen. As number 57, William Coffey, again making a few mistakes, so he lost 4th place. He lost a bit of contact to Bobby Flacken, falling under big pressure from Kroom here, Andrew. So a bit of more mistakes than kind of what I expected from William Coffey.
Yeah, John Groom certainly putting the pressure on, and Will, I think, was really good in the early going. He's made up a lot of spots, made up a lot of time, but has now started to fall back on the wayside. Is that Ilya Speaker? Who is that is slow on the inside of the track? I'm not entirely certain. Oh, look at this. A pit stop for Andrew Rasmussen, and if I'm being honest, JP, that's got to feel like it's a pass-through for incidents.
Yeah, me too. I was just going to mention that. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have the first victim of instant limits. I doubt he's going to be coming in. That car looks absolutely in pristine condition. So, yeah, just driving through. That's, you know, how easy it is. And with still 7 minutes to go, Andrew, this could just be the first victim. We still have plenty of laps to, well, for drivers to make mistakes, just go wide or even make contact to have more penalties like this.
And that's 16 seconds that he was slow in the pit lane at a much lower pace. As here's the side-by-side in turn 2 with, it looks like Karadek and Valdez. Karadek taking the spot for now for Duck Hawk Racing, but that was 16 and change for Andrew Rasmussen in the pit lane, and that's negating pit in and pit out time to decelerate and accelerate. So big impact there for his race, and he drops all the way down from 15th spot to 19th spot. That doesn't sound like a whole lot at first, but that's a lot of real estate to have lost right there, as this is a great battle for the 17th position.
Yeah, absolutely. Jean Kaderek, unfortunately, looks like he made a small mistake into turn 5, and unfortunately he's going to be losing the position he just gained. So work undone by himself, and he's going to have to line up that move once again to try and get that position back. And that's your nature. Oh, and that's going really wide, Andrew, so we can kind of see the spots where drivers might be taking those instant points.
So on board with John Karadek. One of the best battles, if not the best battle on the racetrack, at least once they are, or when they are side by side. I say that, and Staropoli might give it a run for his money here, as Staropoli defends from a lap car, it looks like, but is chasing Diego Eda. This could be good if Staropoli continues to work his way up through the field. And we're looking through, and Rosar and Pickram actually might be close. This is for position 25 on the racetrack. Rosar, car 199, and Pickram, car 420.
Yeah, this is a good battle as they're approaching the final 2 corners. You can see on board with the number 199, just a few tenths of a second. Well, I say a few tenths of a second, 7 tenths of a second behind Pickram. But, you know, that gap is just really easy to make. You can see on the final corner, Jarvis taking a bit of a wider line. I guess Zechariah was kind of expecting, you know, those front tires to grip a little bit more to get close to the apex by the end of the corner to essentially get a cutback line on the racetrack. But unfortunately for him, looks like tire are being maybe a point of consideration, Andrew, as well. As, you know, 30 minutes in, 25 minutes in, you know, those tires might be losing a little bit of their grip by the end of the race.
Let's go now to Scott Angelo, position number 9. Just lost a spot to Aubrey Kundal. Ilya Speaker in 7th, John Kroom in 6th. Things have held mostly steady around this bunch, but that position was just gained by cars 653 and Aubrey Kundal. Very nice race so far out of Aubrey. Had a really good run at Hockenheim as well. Talked a lot about Aubrey. And certainly a good start to the season. If we look further back in the field, there is one battle that comes right back to mind. It's Rosar and Pickram. They're close once again. This is out of turn 5, headed to 6 and 7. That right-left chicane. Rosars, it's just a back ways and gets some nice ground made up in the chicane, but now right on his tail for turn 8. And this is a very follow the leader section of racetrack, isn't it, JP?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, on this part of the racetrack, it's really difficult to get essentially a good run. And if you do, most likely you're going to be lining up for that corner as T. Gashburn. He's going to be making a mistake. And that looks like on the exit of maybe turn 11. No, that's on the final corner. That's on the exit of turn 13. So a big mistake for him. Looks like not enough damage for him to consider coming down into the pit lane. So unfortunately for Ashburn, that's going to be a costly mistake. Looks like he just rejoins ahead of Rasmussen.
From that battle that we saw Ashburn in with Willis and Braun up there on 15th, to all the way down there battling for 18th now with Rasmussen. So pretty much the same fate as car 11. Very, very similar there. A mistake that drops them all the way down to about the top 20 cutoff. And that is something you can't have happen in a series like this where things are so fast-paced and the season's going to go by so quickly. Staropoli still 12th, trying to hang on to Diego Eda and potentially make that pass as we get inside of 4 minutes to go, almost down to 3.5 minutes to go. JP, what corner on this racetrack does it feel like it's the best passing opportunity? Is it turn 1 or somewhere else?
Oh, I guess it's definitely turn 1. If you can line yourself up, on turn 14, that could definitely be a good passing zone. But also turns 12, getting a good line and forcing your opponent to essentially, yield and lose a bit of time, especially on these S's just around here. You get a good enough run, maybe you can line yourself up for turns 12. So those two are definitely interesting spot. But Andrew, if you can force the driver ahead of you to make a mistake, any corner is going to be an overtaking spot.
Certainly some options for these drivers. It's difficult to pass here, but not at all impossible, and certainly not as daunting of a task as it was at Long Beach a week ago. And I'm board here with Coffee, but I think Staropoli is going to have something. He's inside of 2/10. It was inside of 2/10 back of Diego Eda. We'll see if he gets the draft here on the front stretch. And activating the wiper blade as well. How about that for a new feature on these cars with the build here for Season 2? Gets the draft, goes left side of the natural Sura 77. A big attempt in the braking zone there. Around the outside goes Staropoli, but no position yet. I think he's going to get it in turn 2.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets a really good line. They're going to be door banging on the back straightaway. That's fun to watch. And he's going to have the inside line to turn 2. But, well, look at that. Not too confident. The number 77 retains that position on the outside. That was beautiful defending by him. And he's going to keep that position for the time being. This battle's definitely not over, Andrew. With 2 laps to go, that's what? 2, maybe just 3 laps. So, still plenty to happen.
Really good battle here for position number 11. Todd Malik is another 2 seconds almost up the road, so he shouldn't have to worry about it. And these two likely won't take a top 10, but it's certainly not out of the picture just yet. If one of those drivers ahead has an issue, this could go from being a battle for 11th to being a battle for 10th. And there's so much that comes with being in the top 10 in any racing series. It doesn't matter if it's NARL, Formula 1, or what have you. Anytime you're able to break into that top 10, it feels pretty good. There's a reason Formula 1 only pays the top 10 points.
Oh, absolutely. There's a reason why iRacing has also a stat of the top 10. It just feels good to be in that, the top spot, being amongst the top 10 drivers on the field. So definitely a worthy battle for these drivers. It looks like Agostini Castro just crossed the line to open the final lap, Andrew. So one final tour for these guys.
Agustin Castro already he's been well ahead of this field as he's already into turn number 2 just about for car 014. And this is the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. Just an insane day of racing for him, and insane in the right way. Insane in the least unrealistic way, or the least actual defining way, if you will. It's been calm. It has been a very, very calm race for car 014. It's been insane as far as the pace. He's put 14 seconds almost on the cars behind, and a little bit of blinking there as he heads through turns 4 and 5, but that's okay when you have 14 seconds all the way back to second place, or now I guess 13, just inside of 13 seconds, maybe giving some of that time up, potentially, is Agustin Castro, just blinding pace all day long. For second, it is Max Tankerell. Race Lab aboard that machine. Brian Zinn in third. Fourth is Bobby Flack. Fifth, currently going to William Coffey, and that could change between these two. They could swap order.
Absolutely. William Coffey definitely closed the gap back up to Bobby Flack. So on the final lap of the race, we could see a daunting move. That's probably going to cost him. That daunting move on the outside could cost him, could cost that position, that possibility of getting that position. So it could be, not, it wouldn't be race over, obviously, but that battle might just be over. As you can see, Bobby Flack going a little bit too wide. But well, for Agostini Castro, 12.3 seconds ahead of the rest. Andrew, a dominant drive, a beautiful drive, mistake-free, a well-deserved victory.
Agustin Castro, 12 seconds, 13 seconds ahead of Max Tankerel, takes the race win, and the second race win of the season then, here in the amateur class for the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Series. Second place, it'll go to Max Tankerel, third, Brian Zinn, and the rest of the order will come across the line and wrap this race up. 30 minutes of racing done and dusted for round number 4 for the amateur guys. Pro and Pro-Am up next as the entire field goes on by our speed shot.
Just like that, 30 minutes of racing has passed. Absolutely insane. You can see the rest of the field coming through. A few extra battles, just picking themselves up at the end. But what a way to be back, Andrew. This was absolutely amazing. You can see maybe even a close finish between these two guys. But what a race it was. Absolutely amazing. And I definitely missed this.
And certainly some drivers that are going to fall down the order in the standings after this one. Drivers that will move up as well. I think Max Tankerel is one to look at. Bobby Flack, Will Coffey, some of the drivers we talked about in pre-race. Whereas guys like Alex Persian, Andrew Rasmussen, they're going to take some big hits. Even Teague Ashburn, who was looking so good at this point in the season. Some Achilles heels maybe rearing their ugly heads today, and certainly showing that nobody in this field is perfect, aside from maybe Agustin Castro. We'll see as the weeks goes on. As, battles all the way down the line here. 30 minutes later, and Jeff Castillo should be, Julio Fernandez Contreras, last car across the line here. Whenever he comes across, we'll wrap this race up. In fact, Julio is here in turn number 12, it looks like, so he's got just a moment before this race wraps up, and once he's able to do so, we will go through our unofficial race results. But JP, how about that? Agustin Castro, the first driver to take 2 checkered flags here in amateur competition.
Oh, definitely setting the bar, and definitely he's going to put a target on his back, at least for us next week. We're definitely going to keep an eye out for him, on qualifying pace and obviously on race pace next week. So the number 14 has a lot of practice to put in, because definitely he's going to be elevating the rest of the field for next week. So a dominant drive this week. Next week, well, the bar is set.
So 38 drivers took to the track for 30 minutes. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results, at least as they stand now. Agustin Castro, a big W in Hungary, going to certainly add to that point total and add to the points lead after this one. Max Tankerel takes second place, Brian Zinn third, it's Bobby Flack in fourth, Will Coffey fifth, John Kroom there sixth place, Ilya Speaker, how about that? Seventh place, Aubrey Kundal at eighth, Scott Angelo ninth, and Todd Malik 10th. And I'd love to kind of go into more detail about these races, but they've all just been good. They were all just really good drivers out there today. I think had things in order. Just a safe top 10.
Absolutely, and it was safe throughout the top 20 as well. Diego Herrera is going to finish in 11th place, ahead of Eric Staropoli in 12th, Brian Long in 13th, ahead of Dan Williams, Mike Braun in 15th, William Valdez, John Kotarek in 17th, Teague Ashburn in 18th, obviously a bit of a mistake for him, Clarence Rosa in 19th, and William Love in 20th place.
Finishing 21st, you will find car 11, Andrew Rasmussen, one of those drivers we were talking about with a heartbreak today, has to come down the pit lane, we assume, for incidents, and loses a lot of time. I believe had an issue after that as well, had to pit one more time, it seems. Goes down to 21st spot. Zachariah Rosar 22nd, had some pretty good battles there towards the end. Sean Patterson 23rd, Pierre Thompson 24th, Armando Bejaran, Dominic Turcotte, Dave Pickram, Nicholas Sykes, Jeff Castillo, and Julio Fernandez Contreras round out your top 30. Really good races.
31st place we go to Joshua Benjamin, 32nd place of Andrija Divac, 33rd place for Milan Harris, Robert Guardinoli is going to finish in 34th, Alex Spurgeon in 35th place, a bit of a mistake for him on the final laps of the race, Stefan Grabowski in 36th place, 7 laps down, Mikel Angel Cardoso in 37th, and Daniel Harris in 38th, a few of those drivers that had incidents throughout the race.
And it does seem as though we will not have a winner's interview here with Agustin Castro, but certainly congratulations in order for driver 014, 2 wins now on the season in just 4 races. He's batting 500 already, and as we've seen in seasons past and in series past, JP, anytime a driver is able to bat at 500 no matter what point in the season, that is good news for them and likely means they're on their way to a championship. Think about Jason Cooper in BSR MX5 last season around. Yeah, it kind of feels like one of those things for Agustin Castro. Getting that second win on the race, second race win on the season is pretty huge for Agustin and will carry big time weight headed to Spa next week. That said, that is the amateur race, which means we get to take a step aside and get ready then for a quick intermission and get ready for race number 2. Of course, pros and pro-ams up next. A big thanks to VRS, Maradness, JS Consulting, and of course Tam Liveries for making so much happen here with the North American Racing League and our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine, Whiplash Media, StimCams, and BAM Racing Videos. Do not go anywhere. Intermission up next, then racing on the way once again.
You found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the virtual Hungaroring. Race 1 of the day, the amateur race. Done and dusted, out of the way, which means we have pros and pro-ams up next. And Agustin Castro got a race win, got a second race win on the season down there at AM. Obviously, Andre Melchers has 2 race wins in this pro-am field, but that doesn't necessarily mean that things can't repeat or things can't go really anyway. We could have a new winner, we could have a repeat winner, we just don't know. That's what I love about this series. We really never know what's going to happen next, JP. Even once we get into a groove of things, and even once we have those endurance races, the cash days, with a new event coming up as well that we'll talk about in a little bit. We never know what's going to happen with this series. It always keeps us Today, words not working. It keeps us on our toes, certainly, from one corner to the next. Already cars on track for qualifying. Let's go ahead and take a look at where everybody sorts out in this qualifying session. Victor Miranda, of course, one of the first out there, as paints, it looks like, are still loading, still sorting out exactly whose car they need to be on. This is Victor Miranda, but it is displaying a different paint, so we'll work through that as qualifying gets underway.
And still winless season so far for Victor Miranda. He's, leading the championship, but only second place finishes for him. So not the way he wants to be. Obviously, he's on the best position on the championship, but I mean, still, I'm pretty sure he's beating himself up for not being able to win, on Daytona, at Long Beach as well. So only one spot to go for him, Andrew, and he definitely wants to do it around Hungaroring. Let's see if he can do it.
On board with Miranda down to turn number 1 for lap 1 for his run. How about Sam Sawyer? Is that paint loaded up for him? No. Looks like paints are going to take us a moment just to get sorted out. But cars on track are always fun. We can certainly take these on boards at the very least. Sam Sawyer down to turn number 1, now going officially by Sam Sawyer. But we still know him as David Sampson. Regardless, either way, he gets that first lap underway, locks up in turn 1, and I think is going to take things slow, potentially even toe. Yes, he does, back in the pit lane.
Yeah, unfortunately not the greatest start for him in qualifying. You can see here, Justin Sang, he's approaching the final sector of he's on the middle of the second sector, approaching the final few corners. So the trickiest section of the racetrack. Looks like English is slipping away from me as the grip is slipping away from Sang's car. You can see him losing a little bit of front end grip on that car. Looks like the paints, Andrew, have finally loaded up. There we go. And we're about to finish the lap. A few drivers are about to finish their lap, some opening as well. You can see a few drivers coming into turn number 2. And Andrew, for you, what is the trickiest corner to get it right around Hungaroring?
I still feel like turn 4 is the most difficult coming up here. In anything with less downforce than a Formula 1 car, I tend to have problems gauging where I need to brake for turn 4, where I need to turn in, and exactly how much speed I can carry up over that crest. It's so difficult, and I think turn 5 is pretty difficult as well. This middle sector of the racetrack, this middle portion of the racetrack, is very, very tough in so many different ways. Even coming up through the chicane, there's just so much that can go wrong so quickly.
Absolutely, you can see a few drivers finishing up the lap. It looks like Scully is going to be leading the charge early on as Zavadil beats him by just over a tenth of a second. So provisional pole for him. So far, a great qualifying session, 7/10 of a second ahead of his closest Pro-Am competitor. Paulo Godoy goes 4th place, second on his class as well. So a great lap for the number 124 so far.
And Training Paints is being rather uncooperative today, so we do apologize. We'll do our best. Of course, we can, we can see timing the scoring and see who's who, but there might be some paints that just don't want to cooperate. So there's the blanket warning now before we get a string of hate mail for it. But anyways, Lawrence Zavadil currently fastest in qualifying, looking pretty good in car 124 ahead of Manuel Scoli, and this is what I mean. Right, that's the Samsoid paint, but the spec map from Zavadil's car, so we'll see if we can get that sorted out.
And the surprising thing is Zavadil has put in such a good lap. He's ahead of Nick Ludicky, Luke Krause as well, so a really good lap. Krause looks like he tied up the lap for Scully as well. They're both on the same thousandths of a second, so really close qualifying session so far, Andrew, and it's only bound to get better as we still have what I like to call the big names. Obviously, everyone around here in the Pro and Pro-Am class are big names, but obviously our championship contenders so far are still yet to put a lap, and I guess we're kind of all waiting to see what the benchmark is going to be for those guys.
On board with Luke Kraus, Daniel Thomas goes up to second here in qualifying. Some new drivers even in Pro as Manuel Scoli goes right up to the top of the board. And how about Fabio Zamperlini? And Lawrence Zavadil. They keep going faster.
Wow. Yes, and great lap from Zavadil as well, beating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pro drivers so far. So an excellent qualifying session for him so far. And 2.5 tenths ahead of Fabio Zamperlini. That's really impressive for him.
Yeah, really good lap times to get things started out here. Zavadil quick, Zamperlini quick, and the fact that, yeah, I think you're touching on it there, a Pro-Am is on pole right now, and qualifying is getting close to ending. That could change things up. Lawrence might have this place down, and oh boy, we could be in for a big treat. Kraus does go fastest now, purple there on lap number 2, but definitely an interesting day so far.
Oh, absolutely, and it's only qualifying, Andrew. It's only a first 3-4 laps. We still have a 50-minute race for these guys, so it's bound to get even crazier, even wilder, if that's even an English word. It's gonna get even greater. I guess I can say that for sure.
Here with Luke Kraus. Again, paints, they're not gonna work today it seems, but we do have 27 cars, it looks like, in all. Scott Kimbrough, the slowest of the bunch so far, but looking to pick that up and get ahead of Nick Peterson this lap, and easily could, as Rafael Bonifacio goes faster in 12th. Brady Lubenow looks like into 10th. Justin Sang 9th. Sam Sweat is sitting in 19th. What we haven't looked at yet in this session, JP, we actually can now, is standings coming into this race, pro standings. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier on. The one that I think makes me the happiest is seeing Tony Kanaan in that top 10. And I left it out earlier just to bring it up now. And it doesn't look like he's in this race tonight, but to have Tony Kanaan in the top 10 in this series is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, and that just shows, obviously, him being in 10th place shows the quality of drivers. 9 drivers that are ahead of him on the championship. Beating the Tony Kanaan also brings a good light as well. So it's really, really good to see. We saw just before we cut, Victor Miranda leading the championship, still yet to win a race. He just went fastest in qualifying, so he's doing what he can to try and get that win, but it looks like a curse, doesn't it, Andrew? By Daytona, by only a few thousandths of a second, and then around Long Beach, a mistake from a lapped car. It just seems like a curse that's, just around him, still leading the championship, but I'm pretty sure he just wants, that ticker right by his name.
And with a great day of racing like we've had so far, obviously the amateur race was hectic on lap 1, lap 2 even. Things are going to change in this field. I think Victor Miranda could be a lock as far as favorite for this race win. Already on pole so far, Luke Kraus second. We'll see how that goes. Matthew Dench, I don't see him even in the top 10, if even in the field this evening. So a lighter field as well is going to change things up. And of course, drop week's going to figure in by the end of the season. A whole lot's going to change tonight. And even in Pro-Am, Lawrence Zavadil so fast tonight could open up that gap big time over Gaudet and Kimbrough, who won last week.
Absolutely. The Pro-Am side of things is also very, very close. And we only have 7 points dividing the top 2. And obviously a 22-point gap between Paulo and Scott Kimbrough. So, a big gap for second and third place. And obviously it ties right back up again between third, and you can kind of say all the way down into 10th place. But obviously these guys, having roller coasters, just weeks, it could definitely change the championship. And as you mentioned, Andrew, it still drops weeks to be applied, and still 4 more races. There's still plenty of talk still in the championship, and it's definitely not over.
And I see these very close margins throughout the entire field. I mean, I know Kimbrough is fresh off of a race win at Long Beach, but from Kimbrough all the way down to Joshua Lewis in Pro-Am is only 18 points. You've got Sedlak and Peterson who are tied. Torquillo only a couple of points ahead of each of those. Things are very, very tight, and even in Pro, Sam Soyd and Kanaan are only 2 points apart. Melchers and Lubenow, 2 very different seasons to this point. They are only 7 points apart, and Melchers is only 1 point behind Spencer Marsh. That's March. Interesting. Anyway, Spencer Marsh there in position number 6. So a lot's going to get figured out in this race. A lot's going to change, certainly. We will take a step aside. as we have this quick warm-up, this opportunity to hopefully get paints working. That seems like that's what the task is going to be here before we get racing for 50 minutes with a pit stop in between. A lot's going to happen tonight. A lot's going to change tonight. A lot to watch for. A lot of reasons to keep with us here at Pit Stop TV. We certainly hope you do so. Until then, well, we're going to take a step aside for just one moment.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Hockenheim ring, or not Hockenheim ring, Hungaroring. I knew I would do that at least once today. The names are too similar to have on the same schedule, but we will quickly go through the field here at the bottom, JP, and we do once again acknowledge and apologize for any paint discrepancies. Unfortunately, when something like that goes wrong, I promise you that is outside of our control. We've already gone through the necessary steps. Hopefully things cooperate here, but if not, we will do our best to articulate who's who in the zoo, and I know it will get confusing. Don't worry, we will be confused as well, but your top 10, you can see him taking shape there. Brady Lubinow starting from that 10th spot. Of course, Victor Miranda, Luke Krause up front. Pro-Am pole going the way of Lawrence Zavadil. Neto Nascimento starting from 4th. A whole lot of great names up there, and even in this further back portion of the field. Race 2 on the day on the way here, and green flag is out. Already one car off, one car spinning, and it's Victor Miranda out on the outside of turn number 1. Well,
we saw him being aggressive straight from the get-go. He went to that inside line, a bit of contact maybe with Luke Krause. Unfortunately, sent him spinning. And while from the lead, he drops all the way down to last place. And Andrew, that dream of the first victory comes, well, pretty much is over by the end of lap 1. Still plenty of racing left. Is that him again? No, that's Nicholas Michel, unfortunately spinning around in the exit of turn 3. Luke Krause still leads though, and you can see the rest of the field kind of falling back into that single file. And through the quick right-left chicane we go, Andrew, and that's pretty much halfway through the lap number 1 and even more contact.
Massive crashing here in the chicane the first time through. A lot of contact, one car parked on the apex of turn 7. And drivers involved in that going to include Nick Ludicky. It looks like he's already towed back to the pit lane. Daniel Thomas as well, I think, was that car stopped potentially. A lot of big issues the first lap out. We've come to expect it at the Hungaroring. Look at this, though. The top 3, they squared away. We've got Krause out front. It's Nascimento second, Zavadil in third, Lubinow in 4th spot, and Godai in 5th. How about that for lap 1? It's Samswood battling with Andre Melchers now. Samswood giving that spot up.
Yeah, maybe just, acknowledging that it's just the beginning of the race, still 48 minutes to go, plenty of time still to go racing, plenty of laps, so maybe just allow some of those drivers to, they're feeling more aggressive to just get on with their race and just finish your race. And as you mentioned, Andrew, Luke Krause from Neto Nascimento, and, well, Zavadil in 3rd place, an excellent race for him, race start, so, well, a lot to talk about already in lap number 1. Luke Krause feeling a little bit of pressure from the number 75 right behind him.
So it's Krause, Nascimento, and Zavadil up front. Lubinow looking good as well. As a crash with Rickaben and Gibson. It looks like Reed Gibson gets back going, and that kind of adjustment on the wheel is not going to be easy. I saw a message from Mark Sedlak. Today is not going well all of a sudden. John Sedlak out in the chat in Discord a little while ago was saying that Reed Gibson was racing with just one arm, JP, and we've had drivers racing on iRacing through injuries before, but I don't think anybody has raced with a broken collarbone on Pit Stop TV before. That is pretty big for Reed Gibson, and hopefully he didn't tear anything up too bad there on the crash.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big challenge to race with just one arm. Obviously, you have the difficulties of upshifting and downshifting. I'm pretty sure he remapped a few of those positions, but obviously in-car adjustments as well mid-race are going to be a big challenge. So, if he's racing and while he's competitive, I'm going to be rooting for him because that's a big challenge to have, especially on a field like this. As you can see, the top 3 still in position, and Andrew, I'm impressed. I know it's only lap 2, but Zavadil, he has an excellent pace. He's keeping up with those guys up in the front. An excellent show for him, as you can see, even more battling from the back of the grid.
Yeah, we saw this start to happen in qualifying and definitely took notice pretty quickly. Zavadil on some kind of bender today. I really don't know what's going on with car 124, and it's in the best of ways. So fast is Lawrence, and he's won already at least. Yeah, he won a Pro-Am race already in class. As Andre Melchers is backwards at a turn 14, and that rejoin. Whew, that was not kosher by any means, and he's going to pull off and go to the pit lane. It looks like potentially done for the day.
Unfortunately for him, second race in a row that hasn't gone his way, and that was on the exit of the final corner, just starting his lap. And I'm not quite sure if that was a self-inflicted wound on the exit on the AstroTurf or a bit of contact. We're going to take a look exactly what happened. You can see he takes a bit of a wider line, cutting back in on the final part of the corner. Oh, just by himself. Oh, yep. That hurts. That hurts a lot. And then that rejoin, yeah, that was very, very dangerous.
That was beyond dangerous there, that rejoin, but thankfully no further issue, and the rest of the field keeps on after it. Luke Kraus leading, it's Neto Nascimento second, and some great battles for the back. Samsoid at the heart of it all as he's got a great view. Oh boy, that was Victor Miranda right across his nose there. Spencer Marsh and Blake Scott as well.
Victor Miranda is on an absolute charge. We saw him, going around the outside of that chicane. That's just, impressive to say the least. You can see even a big train of cars, Andrew. This is an amazing shot, something we haven't had the opportunity to see just yet, but, seeing all these Porsches, just going at it, I absolutely love it. I'm going to mention this week in and week out. It's just a great sight for anyone to see.
Watching about the midfield of the field, really, as only 26 cars turned up today. Rafael Bonifacio in 11th. It's Bonifacio, rather, in the 11th spot. Blake Scott there in 12th. Spencer Marsh, then Victor Miranda, as Neto Nascimento goes purple that lap following Luke Kraus. John Sedlak is just behind these guys, as well as Nick Peterson. Aaron Law in the 19th spot, and Laui Santi in 20th. A lot of really good drivers in this kind of midfield area. In fact, let's go on board, as actually we'll wait for it here. Victor Miranda goes up the inside of car 74 of Marsh. Does he get the spot? Whoa, a bit of a door bang. Marsh goes off the racetrack. That's one way to do it.
That's one way. That's just racing. It happened even in F1. Well, Victor Miranda gets that position. You can see Marsh try to go around his outside. He's going to lock up the brake. Samsword is going to go down. He is inside. But it looks like the number 74 is just going to hold off that position. Samsword trying to get a beautiful cutback line. He does. But he's going to be forced on the outside of turn 4. Can he stick it? Does he have the confidence to do it? Yielding probably the best choice there, Andrew. But, well, a really good show of essentially just skill and racecraft from Samsoid. But unfortunately, the number 74 loses a position and loses a bit of contact to Victor Miranda as well.
That was patience there with Marsh and Samsoid. That's what we call that. Samsoid had every opportunity in the world to try and take that spot away in multiple corners and held himself back, didn't want to cause any issues. So certainly admirable there out of Samsoid in position number 15. Let's go a little further back. Your last battle on the racetrack, it looks like, at least your furthermost to the rear, is Nicholas Michel in position 21 and Laui Santi in position number 20. Santi, the car ahead, in car 133, and we're on board with Michelle now.
We're on board with him. You can see the final few corners of the racetrack. You can see a big train of cars, Andrew, and this is where sometimes it just gets difficult to overtake, especially on the main straightaway if you get the exact same exit. Just a lot of cars battling, all of them with the benefit of the toe, so it just becomes a bit difficult to make sure you get past. But you can see this is a strategy. You go a bit wider on the entry to essentially just go tighter on the exit, and that sometimes helps you on the exit to get a much better essentially exit speed than a competition ahead. But unfortunately it did not work this time, and they're gonna hold position at least until the braking zone of turn number 1. But yeah, this battle right here is definitely far from over. As you can see, plenty of cars battling for positions.
Really good stuff here in the mid to backfield. Let's go up front though, as Neto Nascimento putting some pressure here on Luke Kraus. Luke Kraus got that win at Long Beach a week ago and has been good in every single round so far. There's a reason he's second in points, but this is something different out of Luke. Even last week it was a contested win, certainly. It didn't come without, I guess, without earning the merit, but Neto Nascimento is going to give him a run for his money. We've not seen this out of Neto just yet. We haven't seen this kind of amazing run. This is serious speed out of the entire top 3. They're all still together so far.
Absolutely, only 1.4, 1.5 separating the top 3 is absolutely insane. And yeah, you mentioned the number 75 hasn't really been too active throughout the season. I expected more of these from Neto Nascimento, and it's just really good to see him, battling for the lead. And Andrew, I guess it's only going to be one race in the whole championship where we're not really going to talk about, the fuel strategy, and unfortunately that race is not Hungary. Could Neto already be saving fuel?
That is a great question, and probably the case. Let's take a look at the telemetry, and let's even go on board in this view. This should show us what he's doing. Let's go silent to turn 1. You know what? He hit the chip a little bit, or at least we got very close to the chip in 5th gear. And he did not lift and coast. Maybe not.
So there you go. So maybe the number 75 going with a bit bolder strategy of just trying to keep up pace with the number 34. You can see a bit of a different philosophies down into turn 2. Neto really goes tight on the corner, while Luke Krause just goes a little bit wider. Zavadil still keeping up pace with them, 1.3 seconds. I mean, we highlighted, you know, on the amateur race, you know, the pace from some of these guys, but this pace from Zavadil is just as insane.
Let's see what Zavadil does here on this lap, if he saves anywhere. You can see the rev lights above the dash, and that's really what you're watching for, where drivers are shifting, and if they're maybe lifting a little bit, coasting into a corner, you can kind of obviously gauge their throttle input, at least to a point, by the rev lights. And it doesn't seem like these guys are saving that much just yet. It seems like they're still racing. Zavadil may be a little more relaxed than Neto so far, but still very much on the throttle.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we're only 10 minutes in. You know, we see, you know, pit stops happen on the final, what, 15, 12 minutes. So still plenty of time to save a little bit of fuel. And if you're Neto Nascimento or Zavadil, you know, you just need to save 1 or maybe just 2 liters to essentially jump Luke Krause on the pit lane. So not a lot of fuel to be saved, especially with the gap that they have to Brady Lubenow in 4th place. And that's another driver, Andrew, who has been doing an excellent race so far in 4th place.
Yeah, but has no opportunity to draft right now. He does have Fabio Zamperlini closing in. Let's watch here, though, Luke Krause on to turn 1 as he's saving. He does go to 6th gear and lifted and coasted a little bit. Well, I think that was braking, just kind of not wanting to drop down through the gears right away, not want to chatter that rear end. I don't think that's necessarily saving, but being somewhat conservative at this point, not being too aggressive there in car 34. Brady Lubenow is in 4th. I like that you mentioned him, as he's got Fabio Zamperlini closing in. And closing in, he has closed in. Good battle here for 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. The number 27 has absolutely closed in, and he's definitely pushing the number 11 for his position. Fabio Zamperlini as well with an excellent race so far. Just so the number 11 and the number 27 kind of highlighting, you know, the 3rd and 4th place for the pro class, but obviously, you know, highlighting their season so far. Haven't really shown what we kind of expected. So this, I guess, is what they can do when they're on a good day. So it's great to see those two, you know, on the top 5 as we have even more problems. Looks like for, is that Sang? Yes, unfortunately for him, being spun around on the exit of turn 5.
Problems there for Justin Sang in car 88 out of California. Going to give up that spot to Louis Santi, and there goes Nicholas Michel at the inside as well. Contact there between those two, and Sang will back down and give the spot up to the Pro-Am driver. Boy, that could have been a whole lot worse. That was good on both drivers to make that as easy as it could have been with the move that was made, and certainly the slow up there from car 88. Let's go back up front, or at least somewhat back up front to about where that issue had happened. Victor Miranda and Rafael Bonifacio, these guys are in a heated battle, and I believe Sang was with these two just before that issue.
Yeah, I think he was too. Victor Miranda just got that position, moved himself back up into the top 10. The gap is stationary around 13 to 14 seconds between him and the leader, so his pace has been absolutely excellent. Obviously, he's fighting traffic and, well, overtaking people left, right, and center. So far, Andrew, this is a really good race, really good comeback race for the number 17, who unfortunately, you know, his work after putting it on pole was pretty much, you know, hampered, I guess you can say, by the exit of this corner on turn 1.
So just on lap number 8 now, 7 laps down, 7 laps run, which means we have plenty of racing still to go. This feels like another one of those races where we still don't know. Like, it feels like the storm is still brewing, right? Some races, we get the storm out of the way quickly and things calm down. Things are still brewing. Things are still setting up in this race. And I think the main storylines are yet to be seen. When do those pop up? When do they rear their heads, and how? That's the questions we have to ask at this point. As Luke Krause continues to lead by just over a couple of tenths over Neto Nascimento. There we go. Lawrence Zavadil leading clear it away in Pro-Am. That's going to be tough to challenge for Paulo Godai and Curtis Jones. Even Scott Kimbrough joining the top 10 there for Pro-Am.
Yeah, that lead in Pro-Am is going to be hard to take away unless some mistake by his own happens. Obviously, you know, he's stuck within that slipstream from the top 2, so a really good race for him so far, and I don't see that position going away anytime soon. The rest of the Pro-Am, Andrew, they look quite close as well, so it's going to be interesting to see who's going to come out on top, especially in third and fourth place, maybe even fifth, as you can see even more battlings throughout your screen. But this so far, 15 minutes in, this has been an absolutely amazing race.
Lockstep formation for your top pair. Luke Kraus just maintaining that lead right now over Neto Nascimento. No fuel saving just yet, it seems. Fabio Zamperlini similarly hanging on to that draft with Brady Lubenow, and you don't have to necessarily be fuel saving in the corners. Obviously that would help. That if you need to fuel save, that's the way to do it. But even just drafting somebody, lessening that resistance, the air resistance, and lessening the drag that your car experiences on the straightaways, that's going to help you. Lubenow a bit wide in turn 2. The thing is, if you're Fabio Zamperlini here and you know you're faster, you've got to make the pass at some point. I mean, drawing right up to Brady Lubenow gives him a shot there. That's going to work a few times, but you can't hold yourself up for too long.
No, absolutely not. You can see Scully just closing in lap after lap. So as long as Zamperlini is not trying to make a move, he's just being slowed down by Brady Lubenow. He's going to be vulnerable to the attack from the number 24. That's going to be, unfortunately, the story. You can see Manuel Scully absolutely closed in on Fabio Zamperlini. So from attacking, he's going to have to worry about defending for him. So a really difficult position if you're Fabio Zamperlini. Obviously, you lost a few opportunities to make that move, and you might lose a few positions. We saw that happening on the amateur race, Andrew.
And Manuel is another one of those new drivers of the series. Hasn't run with many of these guys just yet. Just has an opportunity to now get out there with these guys and learn these guys' tendencies and how these races go, and is doing fantastic. 6th place so far as we are about 15, 16 minutes into this race. Fabio Zamperlini, a former series champion within the league. And that was a low percentage pass. I'm sorry, but thankfully, no crash. That was definitely aggressive, but regardless, Fabio Zamperlini, one of the best guys out there, some of the best racecraft, some of the best, I think, sportsmanship that we've seen in this series. To be challenging him and that bit of contact on lap 9, lap 10 is certainly a feat in and of itself. Unfortunately, that contact was made, but we keep racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and the move comes straight back. Fabio Zamperlini, well, he wasn't really aggressive with Brady Lubenow, and he gets the position back. And, they're going to battle. You can see on the timing sheet, Scully gets that position back for the time being, but Fabio's going to have the inside line. He goes deeper on the braking to kind of cover that. There's going to make a little bit more contact, not quite, but, well, he gets the position back, Andrew. And if you're Fabio at this point, you're just going to be focusing forward to try and drive away from the driver behind him and maybe close that gap back up to Brady Lubenow, who's, well, nearly 2 seconds ahead of you.
I know we want to imagine that he does have his eyes up right now, but let's be honest, Manuel Scully definitely got in the head right there, Fabio Zamperlini. That move into turn 1 was unexpected even for me. I didn't think that was going to happen, so definitely I think Fabio a little bit flustered with what happened there in turn 13, that last lap through. Made it known, made that big move into turn 1, and almost even contact again in turn 2. So these guys are racing hard. These guys are after it here on lap number 10 of nearly 30 as we're projected for 29. That might drop down to 28 depending on race pace and the pit stop that we have looming. Some more battles throughout the field. Well, let's just go right behind these guys, actually. Some Pro-Ams that are getting after it. Paulo Goday in car 933, Curtis Jones center screen in car 999, and Scott Kimbrough in car 117. 3 Pro-Ams in a row. They're battling for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in their class, some ways ahead of Rafael Bonifacio.
It's a really good battle to keep an eye out for, and this is a battle that looks like it's not going to go away anytime soon. And Andrew, this also could have big implications on the championship as well. It's going to be
Manuel
really good
Scully
is
in the pits.
Oh no!
This could be a pit stop.
Yeah, he's coming down in the middle lane. This could definitely. Yeah, it is.
This might not be end of the day for him. He might have just hit his fuel number and want to come in early. Does chatter the tires, and that is going to hurt him. It took him several extra seconds just getting into the box and getting rolling with the pit stop. We'll see where he exits and exactly how long this stop takes. It's 9.3 in the box and about 30 seconds in pit lane, so we'll have to see how that compares once we get some more pit stops from drivers further up in the field. Now, Laui Santi is on his out lap, and he may well be on the same strategy here. 9.58 in the box, a little bit longer than Manuel Scully, but faster in the lane. Look at that 2-second difference in the lane.
Yeah, and that's just sometimes the mistakes that happen. As you mentioned, shuttling the rears, essentially just locking up your rears. That's going to cost you a lot of time. And, well, as you mentioned, 9.3, that's going to be the time that we're going to be aiming for in around, what, 15 minutes, Andrew, you would say, for the rest of the field to come down in pit lane. I guess that's kind of the benchmark, and, well, just going to keep an eye. This is the number 75. I thought this was Victor Miranda at one point, who's already up into 9th place, but no, this is Neto Nascimento challenging Luke Kraus for the lead, and at this point, I'm not quite sure if he's just holding back to the perfect opportunity, Andrew, or he's just comfortable running in 2nd place.
I think he's saving fuel. I really think he is. And maybe not aggressively, doesn't want to hamper his pace or anything, but he's definitely saving a little bit as the rest of the top 10 goes on by pit lane, not opting to come in just yet. You mentioned Victor Miranda. He is in the 9th spot so far, just behind Scott Kimbrough, who we were looking at a little bit ago. That three-way battle, of course, with Kadai, Jones, and Kimbrough, still nice and tidy. And I've enjoyed, I mean, this has been a really good race, actually, in terms of racecraft. Seeing proper racing out of these drivers. I think with Long Beach out of the way, these guys are able to kind of spread their wings a little bit. Of course, it's still a very tight racetrack. Walls are very close by, but certainly a lot more racing room here in Long Beach. We're seeing that good racecraft come on through.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of the advantage of racing in a circuit opposed to a street circuit. And, well, it's just sometimes a bit more fun. As you can see, Nick Peterson looks like he was trying to challenge for position, but ended up yielding to another driver. So, unfortunately for him, from attacking to losing a position on the inside, did not go his way. But we saw a bit of lack of confidence. And I wonder, Andrew, if Nick Peterson kind of just looked, as Aaron Law looks like made a mistake. And that's a big damage to the rear end of his Porsche. And where is that? Is that on the exit of turn 2?
Yeah, this was just ahead of those guys that were on board with Peterson and Scully. Big problem there for Aaron Law. That said, the car doesn't look too bad. The wing is straight, which means that it wasn't really that hard of an impact to the rear of the car, which he should be okay. We'll certainly have some dirty tires. Take a second to get back into it, but not too bad, all things considered. Let's check out another battle in the top 20. Daniel Thomas working on Nicholas Michel. This is 16th, 17th. Michel, a Pro-Am, and Thomas, who we're on board with here, a Pro driver.
Yeah, this is an interesting battle. Thomas definitely is going to be wanting to get past Michel. Obviously, the difference in class as well is going to kind of, I don't think it's going to stay in his head, but obviously he wants to get past that Pro-Am driver ahead of him to essentially just focus on his race. Looks like Michel is blinking a little bit right ahead of him, so that could distract Thomas as well. So just going to keep an eye. Looks like the number 60 is very close on the exit. I wonder if we could see him move down into turn number 1. But, yeah, looks like it was a bit too close, so maybe lost a little bit of pace on that final corner, a bit of dirty air. And obviously, Andrew, that blinking, very well, is extremely distracting.
It definitely can be. Victor Miranda making a pass here. Yeah, blinking is definitely not something you want to see ever on iRacing, but it is a fact of life when it comes to racing with computers, especially across the world. We've got plenty of international drivers in this series. I know it's North American Racing League, but that doesn't necessarily mean that drivers from abroad can't race, as we're on board with Victor Miranda in position number 8. Just got on by Scott Kimbrough. So that does break up this battle of Pro-Am drivers. We'll see how that affects the course of the day, as Neto Nascimento continues to just stay right in the mirrors of Luke Kraus, filling those mirrors, filling that head with maybe thoughts. Is he going to try and take it this time? Is he ever going to try and pass? And if I'm Neto Nascimento, I think I honestly might soon, JP. You've been sitting back here saving fuel long enough. Why not try and pass Luke Kraus and get out to a lead potentially? If you guys start battling and get back into it, then, relinquish that position, but at least take a shot here.
Absolutely, and at the moment he takes a shot, Zavadil is going to be really close to pounce as well. So Neto, if he plays his cards
Lawrence
right,
is in a different class. We've seen this before where that driver might back up and not worry about it.
Yeah, but Zavadil could be in an opportunity to take an overall race victory. Could he back out of that chance?
It's tough. You're right.
Absolutely.
With that right out front, it's tough to say that Lawrence backs out. You definitely see the carrot hanging on that stick, but I really do think if Lawrence Zavadil gets there, I would hope anyways that he would see the bigger picture and sit back. But hey, that's not to say that he wouldn't be able to go get that position and keep it nice and clean. It's just a matter of kind of risk versus reward. You want to risk that, even though really your class position doesn't change at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Neto, as I was mentioning, if he plays his cards right, he can kind of, at the moment he tries to go for a move on Luke Krause, he could try to slow himself and Luke just enough for Zavadil to maybe slide in second place and get that buffer between him and Krause.
Yeah.
Obviously, that would have to be a mastermind move to line that up, but it's definitely still in the cards.
You're absolutely right. That would be a dream scenario here for Neto. As we work up to halfway in just a few more moments, that would be perfect. That's everything that Neto Nascimento would need right now, is to be able to get ahead of car 34 and put that buffer between he and Luke Krause. And that would help him in the pit lane, because again, he's got the edge at the moment. Whether he's saving aggressively or not, he's got the edge right now just by sitting in the draft and being able to lift a little bit, potentially getting to the back end of Luke Krause and pushing him out ahead instead of trying to take that position. So at some point, I think the shot is going to come. It's just a matter of when that happens. It's Curtis Jones and Victor Miranda have a nice little battle. Curtis Jones gives up that spot and now is going to battle with Scott Kimbrough. So Miranda, after the lap 1 mishap, is already back up to 7th, JP.
It's an impressive pace for him. I kept an eye on his delta between him and Luke Krause since the beginning of the race. Kind of by the end of lap 2, it was at 13 seconds. Right now, it's at 15.6. Considering he was, a 16th, 17th at one point, and he's already up to 7th, and he only lost 1.6 seconds. It's an impressive pace from Victor to be this high up. Obviously, his next competition is Paulo Godoy, and as you mentioned, different classes, the points are not going to be counting. Could we see maybe a little bit of Brazilian help around there?
The points do count. I do believe things are like the BSR, where it is still technically a position as far as points go, but again, it's that risk versus reward. Do you risk anything too crazy when you know your class position won't change? Yes, it's a point. Yes, you want to get that point, but do you risk it all? Do you get too aggressive here, especially as we have only just gone on by halfway? Nick Peterson's in the pit lane, so changing things up a little. Let's actually see how long his pit stop was. This is certainly on schedule. 9.83 for him, and that's 28.01 in the lane. That's actually a pretty solid pit stop. A little bit slower than previous stops, but really solid pit lane time. He did everything he needed to do on pit lane. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's around half a second slower than Scully on the pit stop itself, but obviously, with that mistake, yeah, 2 seconds faster overall, so good overall. Obviously, we're going to be aiming to see cars hopefully diving under 9 seconds, on the pit lane, and I definitely wouldn't count that possibility, Andrew, especially after Daytona. Those numbers that we saw were absolutely insane, so I'm pretty sure these guys all know how to save fuel. And Fabio Zamperlini, after battling, well, he's closing back up to Brady Lubinow. The gap is down to a second once again, so the pace from the number 27 is definitely coming back. Fabio is definitely coming back. Victor Miranda dives into the pits, and Andrew, you can see a little bit of damage to his car. He's definitely going to get that fixed up, but it's going to cost him just, a few tenths of a second.
Pit lane time here. Watch that. When he might have overshot his box. Just gets in. That was close. So look at the nose camera. That's how much pavement he had left before he was outside of his pit box. That's very close there for Miranda. 8.72. Very fast in the box. And the thing with that pit lane time that I don't like is he was still accelerating as he crossed that line and the timer stopped. So that's not a perfect 26.83. That's more like 27 seconds, if not maybe even 27.2, just because he's still accelerating there. He exits the lane just in front of Manuel Scully as well. So he's still got some work to do, does Victor Miranda.
Manuel Scully was battling with Fabio Zamperlini, wasn't he, when he came into the pit lane? So technically, we could say Victor Miranda could be, well, depending on his pace, and it looks like he comes out on clear air, he could be as high as 4th place if he puts those lap in right, because Brady Lubinow...
Recall that Scully had the slow pit lane. It's going to be close.
It could be close, yes. Well, it's just going to depend on this laps, and obviously, it's the dream scenario. Victor comes out ahead of Scully on clear air. It's qualifying time for him. He just has to push a lot and obviously hope for some sort of battle between Fabio Zamperlini and Brady Lubinow. But obviously, the battle's on track, Andrew. Is all eyes on the top 3. Neto Nascimento gets really close on those final few corners, but looks like on the final corner on turn 14, he just loses a few tenths of a second that doesn't allow him to go down the inside of turn number 1.
Yeah, this battle is certainly going to happen at some point, and it may not happen on the racetrack at all. It may happen in the pit lane entirely. It may just be a matter of pit stop time that sorts out this race, but these two nose to tail for so long, something's going to have to give at some point, right? And again, it may happen only in the pit lane, but eventually these two are going to figure something out, and Obviously, the benefactor's going to love it, but the other will not.
Oh, absolutely. And I just cannot wait to see if this move is going to be done on the pit lane or the pavement on the race. You can see an 8.2 second stop. We just saw Semsoid. How quick is his stop going to be? Around 8 seconds as well, 9.6. So a bit slower by him, unfortunately. 0.3 of a second slower than... oh, Neto Nascimento goes to the lead.
Luke Krause, side by side. And that happened in the chicane as well. Now down to turn number 8. Neto Nascimento has the right side, finally making that move, but Luke Krause is not giving it up easily. And Lawrence Zavadil sitting back saying, do I want to take this? Do I want to try and make an opportunity? Well, not just yet, as Luke Krause gets right back in behind car 75. Neto going to defend. Luke takes a look right now. Back left, early on the brakes there is Nascimento. A bit of a door ding, a bit of a mirror touch, and they get back after it for turn 13.
Beautiful racing throughout. A bit of contact, but clean. And, well, the number 34 unfortunately loses that lead. He's going to be on the position right now to save a little bit of fuel. Neto Nascimento gets the lead. And as you mentioned, Zavadil just kind of, just hanging back, maybe waiting for a bit more, I guess you can say, extreme contact between those two. But unfortunately for Zavadil, and luckily for the racing aspect, it was just a bit of contact.
On board with Lawrence Zavadil, and he chipped 5th gear there. I'm surprised these guys are staying in 5th at the end of the straightaway. I really, really am. 6th gear is going to burn a lot less fuel, boys. I know everybody talks about throttle position in iRacing and saving fuel on iRacing, but gears will still help. Just changing gear a little bit earlier is still going to help, and I'm really surprised these guys are staying in 5th gear as long as they are. I heard the chip there for car 124. Some pit stops further on back in the field. Here's Blake Scott on the pit lane.
So he's going to come down. Obviously, we're aiming for a sub 9 second stop. We saw that at least 2 times so far. Blake, is he going to go for a sub 9? Oh, no, that's a longer stop, 9.7. So not the greatest. His pit lane time should be around 28.5, I'd say. Is that on the money shot? Oh, look at that, a 28.4. Yeah, I'm going to play the lottery in a few minutes because that was almost bang on. So he's gonna come out, looks like in a bit of clear air, and yeah, he should just return his race. So interesting is gonna be, well, Neto Nascimento's and Zavadil as well, Andrew. I kind of just completely missed. He could just be saving fuel. He could leapfrog these two on the pit lane.
Now with Nascimento taking that top spot and burning some fuel to do it, does Lawrence Zavadil just keep a little extra in the bank here and actually go a little further? We've gone past 30 minutes in this race. Pit stops are going to happen at any point in time for the rest of this top half of the field. In fact, 12 cars yet to pit just yet. At some point, these guys are going to have to pit.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to wait until the last possible second. We might even see the rest of the top 5 coming down into the pit lane. You can see Scott Kimbrough coming down. So he's the first one between the battles of Paulo Godoy and Curtis Jones to come down in the pit lane. So sacrificing a little bit of that battle to maybe get them on strategy. We're just going to have to wait and see how long that pit stop is going to be. Once again, hoping for a sub 9 second stop. Don't overshoot your box. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Andrew, it's 9 seconds, but it definitely feels like an eternity. 9.63. So once again, should be around 8.5, 8.4, 28.5 second stop. 27.7. So a really good entry for him.
That is slightly long, but a really solid pit lane time. You're right. We'll see how that helps or affects Scott Kimbrough the rest of this race as he gets back out there. Boy. It's just so hard to get a feel. We never know what's going to happen in these races. It's so hard to get an idea of how these things are going to go. And with 15 minutes to go almost, we still have 11 cars out front. Neto Nascimento, Luke Krause, Lawrence Zavadil, Brady Lubenow, Fabio Zamperlini, Paulo Godoy, Curtis Jones, Spencer Marsh, John Sedlec, Nicholas Michel, and Daniel Thomas have not pitted yet. Can you believe that?
That's crazy. And I dare say they're pretty much all going to come down in the same lap. I definitely think as soon as the leaders dart into the pit lane, oh, there we go. Luke Krause and Zavadil follows him. He wasn't going to follow.
I don't think so.
Decision.
Yeah, I think you're right. Krause is in and certainly working the track limits there on entry. Zavadil does the same. Right down to pit speed. Does anybody else follow? Lubenow, no. Zamperlini, no. Paulo Godoy, no. Curtis Jones, no. Spencer Marsh, he might. And he does not. John Sedlak, does he come on in? Nicholas Michel, potentially. Regardless, Zavadil and Kraus about to leave the pit lane. Actually, Kraus, 8.32. The lane time is going to be good as well, 26.28. That is faster than Victor Miranda by some margin. Zavadil long in the box, 9.3. It's a 33-second pit. He must have had a hold-up getting into the box. That is terrible.
Yeah, that is terrible. 5 seconds on the pit lane, and he's going to come out even battling, looks like. And unfortunately for him, not the greatest. He's battling with John Sedlak, if I'm not mistaken. So unfortunately for him, battling for the lead, he's going to be losing quite a bit of time as well. Oh, just it all went so wrong in the pit lane where we thought, Andrew, it could have been his opportunity.
That's where these races are won and lost. That's just the way it goes. We've seen it so many times, time and time again here at the North American Racing League. You've got to be perfect on pit lane, and if you aren't, you're going to lose races. You might still win a few, but you're going to lose some races in the pit box, and specifically getting into that pit box, especially with no ABS in these Porsche Cup cars. It is so easy to get in deep, so easy to chatter those tires and miss your mark and lose a ton of time. Now, Neto Nascimento, he's got 12 seconds back to Brady Lubenow. No drivers around him this last lap. Does he keep going? Yes, he's going to get at least one more lap out of this. We're past 35 minutes run in this race, and we're inside of 15 minutes to go.
These guys, well, Neto Nascimento, we're going to see if Brady Lubenow and Fabio Zamperlini, yeah, these guys are essentially hypermiling Porsches at full speed, Andrew. It's just crazy to see how much mileage they can come out with just, a tank of fuel, less than a tank of fuel. And something I was just noticing on the timing sheets, Zavadil is only, 3 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, ahead, 3-4 seconds ahead of Victor Miranda after that pit stop. So still within contention of maybe a battle for the podium if everything goes right for the number 17.
It's about a 6-second gap. We'll see how it all works out. It's certainly going to be pretty close. More pit stops now as Sedlak comes on in, and we'll get a view for his pit stop. Marsh is in as well. Let's see. Sedlak and Marsh, the only two it looks like that are pitting this lap. Marsh will pull away, 10.6. That's a long stop there. John Sedlak faster in the box. We'll see how it compares in the pit lane. And Marsh had a great time in the pit lane. 28.8 on the lane as a whole for Marsh. 26.43 there for Sedlak. That is aggressive.
Yes, that is extremely aggressive from Sedlak. 7.7, that's what, half a second quicker than Luke Kraus. Wow, well, that's a gamble.
Pushing
if I've ever
the
seen
limits.
One. Yes, definitely. And we saw with a few drivers what happens when you push the limit maybe just a bit too far. You end up running out of fuel on the last few meters of the race course. Hopefully John got those calculations down, perfectly. Otherwise, it could be heartbreaking for him.
Neto finally comes on in. There is car 75. Finally opting to take to the pit lane. Using those track limits, that's dangerous, though. You don't want to catch an off track there. You only have a few to deal with here.
Yeah, just threading the limits, trying to find each and every single tenth of a second. Looks like, Brady Lubenow and Fabio Zamperlini are following him. Is Paulo Godoy as well? No, he's keeping out, so he's going to lead maybe one lap. Curtis Jones is going to come down in the pit lane. Luke Kraus, obviously, is going to keep himself out, as will Zavadil. Neto Nascimento, 8.1 seconds, so he definitely saved a little bit of fuel. 26.7, that's a bit slower than Luke Kraus. Yes, that's around half a second slower, but he's going to rejoin ahead, and well ahead.
Neto Nascimento hanging on to a gap here, and oh! Who's spun? Who is that? That was 167. That was one of the Scotts. I think that was Blake Scott. No, that was Mark Scott, 167. Wow. I don't know if I could have held my composure.
Yeah, was that contact between him and Nascimento?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't see any damage there. Well, drama is kicking up, and that is no surprise. Zavadil comes out some 5 seconds behind the guys that he was battling previously. Some 5 seconds behind Luke Kraus. That's pretty big. Zamperlini only 4 seconds back of Zavadil. So Zavadil will still hang on to a top 3, it looks like. It's certainly still a Pro-Am lead, but not in the same fashion that he had imagined. Fabio Zamperlini, however, is going to hang on, gain a spot over Brady Lubenow, and by some margin as well. 1.6 seconds quicker on the stop. That's going to change things up, and there is Victor Miranda.
Yeah, Victor coming out just behind Brady Lubinow. Brady's stop was a bit slower, 9.1, but Fabio's was 7.5. That's the fastest we have seen, and he almost cracked the 25-second pit stop time, the pit lane time. So really aggressive from Fabio Zamperlini. We're just gonna have to wait and see if that's gonna, ended up, working out for him on the final few laps of the race. But Victor Miranda, just, breathing in on their necks. Paulo Godoy, finally the last driver to not come down in the pit lane, finally does so. And, we're just going to keep an eye on his timer because he was battling with Curtis Jones and Scott Kimbrough before he came down in the pit lane. So we're just going to have to see if his overcut ended up working or ended up backfiring on him. Oh, and Neto Nascimento has a bit of trouble.
He's back in the pit lane, a drive-through.
Oh, no.
Wow. That is race-altering to every degree. Just lost the race right there. A penalty for Neto Nascimento back on the racetrack now and slots in behind Brady Lubinow and just ahead of Victor Miranda. How about this?
This is going to be a titanic battle between the two Brazilians. They're definitely going to be pushing. Oh!
This makes me wonder. Was there contact, potentially, with Neto Nascimento and Mark Scott?
That ended up causing him to go over the instant limit.
I don't think he would have chucked the car into the wall just over the instant limit, JP. I think that there would have been a little more at stake. I wonder if there was a penalty that was assessed beyond that. And let's take a look here. Is there any issue? Mark Scott gets out decently ahead. As a car exiting the pit lane, you do have to yield. Yep. One more time. Unfortunately, as a car exiting the pit lane, you do have to yield to that car that's already on the racetrack. This is a wide view. And Neto just kind of stays there, unfortunately. Now, you can argue Mark Scott's got to make a wider arc around, but Mark Scott is the car that is already on the racetrack, and you do have to yield to that car.
Yeah, I think Neto wasn't there at all until the point where contact was made. Obviously, the different lines and the different arc you mentioned, Andrew. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be Neto's fault, at least in our eyes. And unfortunately for him, from battling to the lead, unfortunately, he's going to be DNFing the race.
Yeah, potentially had the race win. Fantastic pit stop. Unfortunately, had that bit of contact. And, well, what this does give us is Brady Lubinow, Victor Miranda, and Manuel Scully very close together. Fabio Zamperlini only a little ways up the road. This is all third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, ahead of Paulo Godoy, who is second in class. Very good stuff, at least in this top 10. And really, throughout the entire field, there's still some good battles going on. Let's check in with Daniel Thomas, battling here with Blake Scott. Oh, big move there to the inside of the corner, and it works.
Yeah, he gets the car slowed down and hits the apex perfectly. He's going to be retaining that position. Will he go defensive down into turn number 2? Yes, he will to, essentially protect even more. And at that point, when you have the inside line and you're hugging that apex, that position is pretty much yours unless you make a mistake on exit. And, he does not. But look at how close they are, Andrew.
Side by side we'll go again. Blake Scott not giving up just yet to turn 4. He will go. Looked around the outside, and that's a place where you want to sit back and try and get the run out of the corner and shape up for turn 5. Boy, that's a dangerous place to try around the outside of turn 4.
Absolutely. You have to be really brave and obviously trust your car a lot to essentially go for that move. But props if you make it work. Obviously, if you don't, it could be very, very harmful. It looks like Victor Miranda is battling a bit with Scully right here. So maybe a bit of trouble from the number 17 car, losing a bit of pace, losing a bit of contact to Brady Lubinow, and falling victims of the number 24. Maybe tires, Andrew. Pushing those tires, for 44 minutes, 43 minutes and a half, could be taking their toll.
Miranda certainly, I think, on the back foot right now. And Scully's just been good. One of the new drivers in the series, just sitting back and being nice and safe. Nice and quick as well, putting some pressure here on Victor Miranda. This would be for a top 5. They are all top 5 in class, but you want to get that top 5 overall. You certainly don't want to finish 6th when that Pro-Am is somewhere up the road. Scully took a look. Oh, contact there. Didn't these two have a similar happening
It was between Scully and Zamperlini.
That's right. Okay, yeah, I knew something had happened. Yeah, Scully up the inside of Zamperlini earlier. That looked carbon copy. Got to be careful with that, I think, as they roll on. Curtis Jones, Scott Kimbrough, they're close together behind. Let's check these guys out. This is Curtis Jones for the 7th position, if he can get to and pass Paolo Godai. But, of course, that is also good for 2nd in class if he can get it.
Yes, absolutely. This is a really good result in class for these guys. And you can see even, is that Scott Kimbrough following them? Yes, it is. So just a really close 3-car battle for 2nd. So a lot to play for here. A lot of points up in stake, Andrew. And we know how close the championship is and how each and every single position matters. So still 5 minutes and a half for these guys. Only less than a handful of laps. So time is running out. Scott really needs to close that gap to Curtis Jones ahead, and Curtis needs to get a move if he wants to pass Paolo right ahead of him.
Now watching a 3-car battle just ahead of these guys. And there are 2 really good 3-car battles that are just separated by a little bit. And if they got a little more near, it'd be a 6-car train. That'd be some really good racing as Fabio Zamperlini tries to sprint away from these guys just a bit with 5 minutes to go. We're on to lap 26, now expecting 28, so 3 laps to go effectively.
Yeah, 3 laps to go. Time is running out. Luke Krause, well, since lap 1, Andrew, he's just been holding his own, obviously having to defend from Neto Nascimento throughout the race, but after the pit stops, well, just controlling the pace. The gap between him and Zavadil has remained the same, and so far as I can tell, absolutely no damage and no mistakes from his part.
It's just been a great day. I mean, there aren't too many other ways to put it here for Luke Krause. He's just been out to lunch, out to the races, and we're going to see twice now back-to-back winners in this series. Andre Melcher's opened the season up with a couple of wins at Hockenheim Ring and Daytona, and now we're going to see the same thing it looks like for Long Beach and Hungaroring here with Luke Krause. He's just been untouchable today. Well, I say untouchable. Neto had him for a moment, and unfortunately, things hit a precipice, hit a climax, and Neto Nascimento is no longer in this lead battle. That's about all we can say there.
Yeah, absolutely. But, even with Neto's battling him, he just absolutely did not crack under pressure whatsoever. So a really, really strong position. And this is something that the timing sheets are just showing. Miranda having to go defensive from Manuel Scully, having to defend. And you can see Manuel is just having a lot of mid-corner grip, just so much more than Victor Miranda. He was battling at once with Brady Lubinow, but unfortunately lost again a bit of touch, and he falls victim again of Scully. So the momentum looks like it just keeps switching from Victor just attacking and defending, and it's really interesting to see.
So Manuel Scully looking for one more position here at least before this race is done. 2 laps to go for each of these drivers. Does he wait for the last lap? Does he risk it for the biscuit there? This would be a great position for him to get. If he can go top 5 overall in race number 1 here with the series, that would be pretty impressive, I think, and certainly put car 16 on our radar. He's looked good. Just a very quiet day.
Oh, he's definitely already on my radar, Andrew. The performance that he's been showing today has been excellent. You can see him keeping up with some big names, and on his debut as well. It's a really, really good showing from him.
Really good stuff as he works continuously here on Victor Miranda, wants to get that 5th spot. Man, this is just such great racing. This is a really, really good series, really, really good cars, really, really good tracks. Everything is shaping up, and you know what? Let's harken back to the point that it's only possible because of these partners here at Virtual Racing School, which billed me today once again for VRS. I subscribe to VRS myself, certainly recommend it, and I think you can see why. Putting some work into these setups, putting some work into helping these drivers out, along with Muradness, certainly great tools there. TAM Livery and JS Consulting will get things done for you as well. The back end, handled by those guys, just fantastic stuff, and the support that comes from each of these partners with the North American Racing League are why the big events are able to take place as well. Cash Days at Long Beach that happened last September, Cash Days at Watkins Glen that we'll talk about after this race coming up in May. Really, really cool stuff, and these races as well, this series as well. So much great things. So many great things.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love this series, and I cannot wait to see what's in the future. Obviously, we already have a few special events coming up, and it got me really excited. You know it, Andrew, and it's just such great racing, great drivers, and the league itself, Andrew. The division that they had between classes has been absolutely on point. So it just brings, great things, and it just, great racing. I guess that's all we can say. We can keep repeating it all night, and I just absolutely love it, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Car 34, that's Luke Krause, won last week at Long Beach, and we believe this is the final lap. He might have to do one more circuit. He might have pushed the pace just enough to get us 29 laps even with the pit stop, but it is looking like this will be the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams, and what a great day of racing it's been for Car 34. So good all day long. Only had that little bit of a hiccup in the battle, a little bit of the chink in the armor, if you will, with Neto Nascimento getting on by for a moment before pit stops, and looked like Neto had him in the pit lane as well, but unfortunately, situations as they are, circumstances as they may be, Krause right back in the race lead and is able to run with it. Hit the ground running, got back out there, holds a 3-point-something gap over Lawrence Zavadil for second place. Just really good stuff for Luke Krause today. It's certainly, I think, the best car in the field. You could argue Neto as well. I think those two might have been even maybe, but Car 34 has put the race together and will be exiting turn 14 this time to take the checkered flag.
Absolutely. Great race for him. Great pace. Held his composure when needed. And, well, kept his car clean. He's going to be crossing the line. He's going to be winning once again. So, from 4 races, Andrew, we got 2 back-to-back winners. Zavadil is going to finish in second place. Zamperlini, I guess you could say a few bad races, going to finish in third place. Second place on his class ahead of Bray Lubinow and Victor Miranda, who did an absolutely amazing comeback race. Just ahead of Scully as well, who did an excellent debut.
Very cool to see Fabio Zamperlini podium this evening. He's needed a run like this, I think. And to see Lawrence Zavadil on podium as well. That is really cool. Podium overall, in fact, he takes silver on the day, along with the class gold medal. That is really, really cool for Lawrence Zavadil, taking the class race win once again and second place in the race. That's just so cool. More of these drivers come on by. Lowy Santi comes across. Blake Scott will be next. Actually, Lowy Santi, yes, just went across. There's Blake Scott, it looks like right there. Reed Gibson, Nick Peterson, and Aaron Law will be your final 3 cars to finish up this race. Issues for Mikkel Rudebusch, it looks like, who goes 21st on the day. Didn't mention his name at all, which is very out of character for Mikkel. Of course, we'll have full results here in just a few moments, but that is your Pro-Am race. It's just a few cars are left to finish this one up and get across the line and officially make it official. So, that is every car now across the line. JP, Luke Krause, 2-time winner on the series. Lawrence Zavadil, second place. Fabio Zamperlini, third. Paolo Gudai, by the way, takes second place in Pro-Am. That is a pretty good day for him as well. Really, really good storylines, I think, throughout the entirety of this field. And a couple of cars coming to a stop there. We will take a step aside and get ready for some post-race interviews. I suggest you not go anywhere just yet, no matter what streaming service you're on. Well, I suggest you stick with us for just a few moments here at Pit Stop TV. Post-race comments from some drivers on the way next.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Hungaroring. 2 races in, 30 minutes for the amateur race, 50 minutes for the Pro-Am race, and fantastic action throughout. That's what we've come to expect with this series, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. Welcome back to Pit Stop TV and coverage post-race now of the North American Racing League Porsche Cup season number 1. JP, we've had 2 seasons of GT3 racing already. To add on now with Porsche Cup racing has been certainly a tough task, but one that we've welcomed and had a whole lot of fun with. It's been a lot of fun so far. Just a really good series, really great racing coming on through and showing us why these Porsche Cup cars deserve the love they get. Paulo Gudai goes second place in Pro-Am, and I'm sure he had great views of how this race went from his point of view and has some words to share with us. And JP, you're up first.
Então, Paulo, depois de algumas semanas sem falar contigo, um tempinho, estamos aqui de volta. Conta como é que foi tua corrida.
Fala, João, tudo bem? Todo mundo que tá na cabine, todo mundo que tá assistindo. Essa pausa parece que nos esfria. Acostumado a andar toda semana, mas foi bom para descansar um pouco na semana 13. Automaticamente é um prazo que a gente tira para dar uma descansada, e aí fiquei um pouco longe dos simuladores quanto a treino, né? O máximo que a gente fez para treinar foi usar um pouco dos novos carros, das novas atualizações. Mas sobre a corrida, não é uma pista que é muito fácil para mim. Tive grandes dificuldades de virar tempo. O pessoal do Brasil nos ajudou muito, né? Com a ajuda do Fábio, com a ajuda do Vitor, com a ajuda do pessoal da DHR por inteiro. Eu pude melhorar um pouco o tempo, por mais que não esteja confortável. Então foi uma corrida inteira prestando atenção em tudo que eu estava fazendo. E incrivelmente o Lawrence também hoje estava bastante rápido, então conseguiu acompanhar o pelotão da frente, que se desgrudou assim que iniciou a corrida. Então não tinha muito o que fazer, eu te concentrei para conseguir trazer o segundo na categoria. E até me surpreendi sobre conseguir andar no top 10 do geral. Mas é isso, nas próximas etapas acredito que são pistas que são mais comuns para mim. E talvez eu venha um pouco mais forte para estar batendo roda a roda ali com o Lawrence e trazendo um P1 tão desejado. Mais feliz com o resultado, obviamente. Por mais que não é tudo que a gente quer, a gente tá sempre com gostinho da vitória. Mas estou feliz de estar representando o meu time, representando o Brasil. E por mais uma vez fazendo um pódio aqui que para mim é muito bom.
Com certeza, é ótimo te ver de volta aqui, é ótimo falar contigo. Obviamente você mencionou que semana que vem a pista fica um pouco mais confortável para você. Podemos esperar talvez uma vitória?
Acredito que sim. Essa semana a gente volta com pique total sobre os treinos. Quinta-feira também tem a estreia da GT3, então começa aqui, eu vou dividir um pouco o meu tempo sobre os treinos, né? Mas é uma semana que a gente volta 100% ao simulador, 100% aos treinos e o ritmo normalmente costuma voltar. Então estou com bastante expectativa para as próximas pistas, o calendário está muito bom. E vamos com tudo. A gente deve mostrar um bom trabalho aí para a próxima semana. No mais, eu quero agradecer, obviamente, meu time, aí o Race. Hoje o meu parceiro de equipe não conseguiu correr por conta da troca de horário. Aqui no Brasil é mais tarde, né, do que aí, então, obviamente, ele não conseguiu chegar por conta de estudo, ele faz faculdade nesse horário. Mas ele vai tentar se adequar aí para as próximas semanas e a gente conseguir andar junto aqui e voltar a pontuar como equipe. Agradecer os patrocinadores, os apoiadores, que é a Real Drive, a Ciência VR, a Motor Bull e a Comida do Dia. A gente se vê na próxima semana e estou muito feliz por estar aqui mais uma vez.
Com certeza. Um abraço, Paulo, e espero falar contigo semana que vem.
Obrigado, João. Até semana que vem, se Deus quiser.
All right, Andrew. So, well, quite a few things to take away as usual. Obviously, he mentioned that the break, the 1 week break that we had is kind of weird. It kind of makes you a bit rusty, I guess you can say, behind the wheel. But obviously, it's very welcome, taking that week to rest and, putting, I guess you can say, batteries back in the controller of yourself, recharging those batteries. That's the word I was looking for. He obviously mentioned that the track is difficult for him personally, but, he mentioned that all the Brazilian drivers were kind of helping each other, just improving their lap time. So it really did help him to be competitive and obviously finish second place in his class. He gave big props to Lawrence. He was just running with the top two. It was kind of impossible to touch him throughout the race. He's very happy for second place overall, especially on this track, and for second place on his class and 10th place overall, I should say. So a really good result for him. He's very confident for next week. He's kind of expecting a win. I kind of teased that for him, and he's definitely looking forward to that. But obviously, he mentioned that practice is going to start to be splitting up, obviously, with the GT3 racing coming up on Thursday. So a bit of dividing work for him, but he definitely sounds very confident.
And that works out for Paulo Godin. Now, before we bring in race winner and Pro-Am Lawrence Zavadil, I do just have to mention that I just checked out the Discord server here with the North American Racing League and saw the tire wear for the car that Lawrence was chasing the entire day long. Luke Kraus posted his tire wear in the chat. The left rear, if I can find it, let's see. No, sorry, actually the left rear, 28% on the inside and middle. The right rear, 41 and 42%, the inside and middle. That is a worn out tire. That is just about as far as you could really comfortably ever wear a tire on iRacing, and certainly I think showing that these latest updates with these tire models has done a whole lot of great work here on iRacing. That said, the guy that was chasing him, Lawrence Zavadil, we're not really interviewing you tonight as a Pro-Am driver. We're interviewing you as Pro second place, because that's what you are. Overall second place this evening. How about that run?
I am sweating bullets. I was so nervous there that I completely forgot to uncheck my tires entering the pits, and that's why my pit stop was so garbage, but holy cow, what a race.
It could be worse. You could have ended up, obviously, not in this top 5 at all, or even, I know there were a couple of moments that it seemed like maybe something could have happened ahead of you. That side-by-side battle with Neto and Luke, what was that like? Coming up to pit stops, I'd imagine trying to save some fuel, potentially. What's going on in your head at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to save plenty of fuel, but those guys, at least at the beginning, were significantly faster than me, and it was taking pretty much everything I had to try and keep up with them. I saved a little bit of fuel there, but and I was starting to catch towards the later part of before the pit stop there. But it took absolutely everything from me to get that position.
Now, I know you saw Luke's tire wear at the end of the race, at least for the rear tires. What do you make of that? Is there any way maybe that you can try and push the tires a little bit extra next time we're out at Spa? Does that maybe even show a little bit of what these pro guys are doing, that maybe you can catch that, make up that little bit of a difference, get that X factor to challenge them for a proper win as a Pro-Am?
Yeah, I mean, looking at that tire wear was pretty intense. I was like, holy cow, you have got some worn out tires. So I definitely want to maybe adjust my setup a little bit to get some extra tire wear in there and be a little bit faster towards the beginning. But I cannot complain with that result whatsoever. That was just fantastic.
So Spa, Charlotte, Road Atlanta, and Red Bull Ring the rest of the season. What do you make of the back half? Is there a track that stands out to you as your best, your least favorite? What's going on there?
I'm not the quickest at Charlotte, but Spa and Red Bull Ring I am plenty quick on. So I'll definitely be hoping to compete up at the latter half of the field in those two events as well.
Well, Lawrence, I know the laps led stat says 0 technically because you weren't the overall race leader, but leading the entire day just about in Pro-Am. The only laps you didn't lead, at least as far as that goes, on your pit stop. Really, really job well done. Seriously, congratulations. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you do with this points battle. I'm excited to see how far you can tear away after this race and hopefully keep that up then, at least for your personal gains anyways at Spa. Best of luck to you in a week's time, the rest of the season as well. Congratulations this evening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, man.
And that is Lawrence Davidale with a big win here, at least in Pro-Am competition. And again, that interview really is not so much as a Pro-Am winner, JP, but as an overall second place, and that is something that he can take to the bank for sure. Really big day for Lawrence today. We'll get over now with Fabio Zamperlini, who rounds out the podium overall in second place in Pro.
Fábio, poxa, cara, quanto tempo a gente já não conversa. Ótimo te ter de volta aqui. E conta, cara, como é que foi essa corrida? Teu ritmo tava muito forte, teu pit stop foi excelente. Me conta aí como é que foi.
Obrigado. Saudade de estar aqui também, né? Poxa, que corrida. A palavra que tem para falar aqui é fantástico, né? A corrida foi sensacional do início ao fim. Cometi um errinho no quali, mas dei sorte. A briga com o Brad foi sensacional do começo ao fim. Aí a gente ele cometeu um errinho, eu acabei perdendo tempo. O Manuel Scully chegou também, acabou me passando, deu um toquinho, perdi um pouquinho a traseira, eu retomei 2 curvas na sequência. Poxa, a corrida que deu tudo certo numa situação que estava difícil, né? A gente treinou bastante, tem que agradecer bastante ao Paulo, ao Vitor, ao Karadec e ao Laui por toda a semana de treino que a gente teve. E o pace estava um pouquinho mais lento, uma pena com o Vitor, o incidente que ele teve, a rodada que ele teve na primeira volta, né? Mas conseguiu se recuperar bem. E, poxa, felizaço por estar aqui de novo, conversar com vocês. Fazia tempo mesmo, Paulo. E espero estar aqui na próxima semana de novo. Vamos treinar, vamos batalhar. Quinta-feira, como o Paulo falou, a gente está iniciando o GT3. Então vamos ver lá em Road América como que a gente vai se sair. E com o DHR vai estar lá com 2 pilotos, comigo e com o Rodrigo Lepre, que estava no chat hoje aqui na torcida pela gente. E vamos embora para cima, vamos acelerar. Valeu, obrigado.
Com certeza, mas antes de você ir, quero que tu fale um pouco mais sobre semana que vem. Como é que tu acha que vai ser a corrida? Acha que teu ritmo vai estar forte novamente? Acha que a gente vai poder conversar de novo?
Então, espero que sim. Eu tenho treinado bastante. Eu acho que vai ser um pouquinho mais difícil para mim, porque começa a GT3, a gente também tem que treinar para GT3, então vai faltar um pouco de tempo. E eu tenho um campeonato também no sábado, um oficial do iRace, da Hyundai, que tá eu e o Vitor Miranda lá competindo pelo Brasil, defendendo a nossa bandeira lá. E a gente precisa treinar para lá também, então vai tomar um pouco de tempo, mas é fato, né? A gente treina bastante, a gente se dedica ao máximo que dá aqui, e eu espero sim estar aqui mais vezes, né? Preciso melhorar um pelinho ainda, tem que baixar pelo menos 1 a 2 décimos no pace, mas em volta rápida a gente já tá lá junto com as feras já.
Com certeza, e bom, vou te desejar toda a sorte para Spa. Tomara que a gente consiga falar de novo, não somente semana que vem, mas também na quinta-feira. Mas antes aí, quem que você tem que agradecer pelo teu resultado hoje?
Então, o meu time, né, a DHR, que tá todo mundo lá, a bandeira brasileira com várias equipes ajudando a gente, né? Então agradecer muito ao Jeff Chiazzi, que de vez em quando passa lá para dar umas dicas, ao Vitor Miranda, da Energy, ao próprio Paulo, da U-Race, né? E os meus companheiros de equipe, o Laui e o Karadek, né? E que estão sempre na luta com a gente aí. Um abraço aí, boa noite.
Com certeza, um abraço, boa noite, Fábio, e espero falar contigo quinta ou semana que vem.
Pô, vamos lá, espero que seja na quinta já.
Na semana inteira, então, fechou.
Valeu, um abraço.
Até mais. Alright, Andrew, so, a bit of Fabio Zamperlini. He missed the interview, he missed being here up with us, but obviously it's good to have him back as well. He said that his race, his whole, weekend, I guess you can call his whole session, can be reduced to one word, which is fantastic. He had a bit of a mistake in qualifying, so kind of hurt him on his starting position, but, the battle that he had with Brady was absolutely phenomenal by his words. He absolutely loved it. Yes, he had a bit of contact at one point and ended up making him lose a bit of ground, but, he made that up and was battling once again. He thanked the Brazilians again, just like Paulo, they were helping each other. He mentioned that even, a few of the pro drivers that are not even running on this league, hopped in to help them with, car setups, all that sort of stuff, just general tips to improve them. Obviously, he's going to be back for GT3 on Thursday, so another driver that it's going to be, a familiar face for us. For next week, obviously, he wants to be back here. He's very confident, but obviously, with the Thursday GT3 League and obviously the Hyundai, looks like the TCR maybe League of iRacing that he's defending Brazil for, it's going to take up a bit of his time, but he's definitely going to make up some time to practice for next week. And yeah, that's about it. He's really happy to be back, and he sounds confident enough to, well, essentially push him to be back even more times throughout the season.
And joining the podium once again is pretty big for Fabio. I was actually, while convincing some friends to sign up for the endurance race we have coming up in May, was talking about Fabio Zamperlini and using him basically as the mark of the racecraft in this series, the sportsmanship, and the kind of driver that fits in here at the North American Racing League. It's very cool to see Fabio back on the podium talking to us post-race, and is very good to have Car 27 back toward the top of the running order. Let's take a look at the full list of results here. The unofficial race results, at least as they stand after 50 minutes of racing with the pros and pro-ams. Luke Kraus takes the win, led 22 laps overall out of 28, and that is huge. Just absolutely fantastic effort, mega effort from Luke today over Lawrence Zavadil by just over 3 seconds, and Fabio Zamperlini rounding out the overall podium. A big shout out to Brady Lubinell, who I know he didn't get an interview today, but very, very close, and literally less than 2 seconds away from talking to us. So Brady, I know you're watching, or at least will hopefully watch, or at least has one of your Pacific Sim Motorsports friends out there. Big shout out and congratulations to fellow Futurama fan Brady Lubinell there in 4th place. Victor Miranda 5th. Really good comeback for Victor, and honestly, I think he'll lose the points lead, but that is a championship kind of saving effort there out of Victor Miranda to get back up into 5th and keep the season alive. Manuel Scully there in 6th. A great debut effort out of car 16. It's Paulo Goday, 2nd place in Pro-Am, 7th overall. Curtis Jones 8th, Scott Kimbrough 9th, and Rafael Bonifacio finishing off a total of 5 Pro-Am drivers in the top 10.
Absolutely insane. Spencer Marsh is going to finish in 11th place ahead of Nicholas Michel. John Sadlak in 13th place. Daniel Thomas in 14th. Sam Sweat in 15th place ahead of Louis Santi. Blake Scott in 17th place ahead of Reed Gibson in 18th. 19th place will go to Nick Peterson, and Aaron Law, which we saw making a small mistake, is going to finish in the overall top 20 in 20th place.
Finishing 21st, you'll find car 22, Mikael Rudebusch, 3 laps down. It sounds like there was a bit more to what we saw go on there at the start. Nick Ludicky, of course, involved a big accident there into the chicane for the first time. And it sounds like a few of these guys went along with. Of course, Andre Melger's back there as well. But Neto Nascimento, 22nd after that drama with Mark Scott, who ends up 23rd. Justin Sang, 24th. Paul... Let's see if I can get it right. Rico Benet there in 25th. I hope that was at least right. Andre Melcher's 26th and Nick Ludicky 27th, 27 laps down. really unfortunate days for a lot of these guys. Nick Ludicky and Andre Melchers. Andre opened the season as easily the championship favorite, JP, and now might not even be in the top 10 in points after today. We'll see how that all goes. Justin Sang, unfortunately, not a great effort there as well. I say not a great effort, not a great result after whatever impacted his effort on the day. A lot of these guys had great efforts going and unfortunately got ruined by whatever happenstance went on for them this afternoon. The full schedule here is a look at it. Next up, it's Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Then we head back over to the United States for Charlotte Motor Speedway for round number 6 on March 29th. It's Road Atlanta round 7 and Red Bull Ring capping off the season on April 19th. We'll get that schedule edit made for next week. A really, really solid set of racetracks for the back half.
No, absolutely. I cannot wait to see. Obviously, Spa is going to be an absolutely classic. Charlotte is going to be really interesting because I think, Andrew, that might be one of the few racetracks, if not the only racetrack on the whole schedule where, well, we might not see a lot of cars fuel save. We might just be, straight up attack mode. Road Atlanta, obviously one of my favorite race courses ever, and Red Bull Ring is definitely always a welcome challenge for any driver. The massive straightaways, the big braking zones. It's just an amazing course.
A really solid set of racetracks left, and I got to theorize with you, but on an inverse kind of side there about Charlotte, I actually wonder if that might be where some drivers fuel save the most. You got the bankings just like Daytona, so certainly a lot of on-throttle time there where you can save fuel in the draft, but also you think about backing up turn 1 just to be easy on the tires. That, I think, is certainly going to happen. Turn 2 is so finicky, and in these cars, I think will be really slick, and certainly lead to some drivers maybe getting a little bit loose, and obviously then you want to back off the throttle a little bit. Turns 3 and 4, the hammerhead section there at Charlotte, I would imagine with the speed of these cars, you'll see them lean off the throttle much earlier and roll the center of the hammerhead and get back on power on that backstretch. I can think of saving fuel up over turn 6, and let's see, down the redneck roller coaster, back up turn 8. I really think there's actually some big opportunities in the chicanes as well. It's either going to be where the fuel save the least or the most potentially. At least take Daytona out of that because that's unfair to everybody else. But Charlotte is going to go one of two ways, I think. Either fuel saving a ton or none at all. Certainly one of us is going to be correct, JP, and I'm excited to see which that will be. I'm always just a fan of going to Charlotte anyways. Pretty much my home track at this point, live out here, and yeah, just a really, really solid venue for racing, real or virtual. There are several upcoming broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV. Here is a look at them, and no, finally, this isn't next Wednesday or next Thursday. It is next Tuesday, though, if you look at BSR there with Silverstone. Point being, these are happening later this week. It's the Outlaw Sim Series tomorrow night from the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway at 7:30 Eastern. Emerson Arden and Devin Zimmerman, as always, will take you through the coverage. It's only race 4, believe it or not. Race 4 of 36 for those guys. They have a lot of racing ahead of them. Thursday, though, we open things up with the North American Racing League GT3 Series, season number 3. Right back to a bit of familiarity there with the GT3 cars. I'm excited to see how that goes, and opening up one of my favorite racetracks in the entire world, not just the United States, Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, down in Braselton, Georgia. Easily one of the best American race courses in, just without a doubt, if not the best, and certainly then one of the best in the world. Really cool place to open up the season. I'm glad it's making it onto both schedules, Porsche Cup and GT3, and of course we're getting it on GT3 side, I guess, a little bit sooner, on St. Patrick's Day this year. Tuesday, next Tuesday, we get the British Sim Racers returning to us for their second season of 2022. We're going to Silverstone, but not that shorter international course. No, we're going to the other side of Silverstone on the international course, and I like that they're keeping to the shorter courses at Silverstone, keeping things a little bit more interesting. Miata around the full course would be a little slow, I think. So I'm excited to see how things open up with the new season, a new set of drivers, and everything else for us at Silverstone in less than a week. And that will all get started at 8 p.m. UK. And with the time change and everything for us here in the United States, that's still 8 p.m. UK, which is now 4 p.m. here in the States. Maybe some of you guys that are, on this side of the world, maybe you want to tune in for that then. Maybe a little bit easier for you to watch that one and see how things go. It could be a whole lot of fun. And JP, there's plenty of places to watch and keep up with Pit Stop TV, no matter the series.
Oh, absolutely. You can follow us on facebook.com/pitstoptv, on twitter.com/pitstoptv_ for live coverage and obviously live updates as well as news and obviously the upcoming broadcast. Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV for post-race coverage as well. Amazing photos, interviews, all that sort of stuff. And obviously our live coverage on YouTube and Twitch at youtube.com/pitstoptv1.
It's been a pleasure having you all along for the ride this evening, but unfortunately all good things must come to an end eventually, at some point, and that time is now for this evening's coverage of round number 4 at Hungaroring for the North American Racing League Porsche Cup season. It's been a lot of fun getting this thing off the ground, but hey, one half done, one half to go already. We're talking about championships and championship hopes being dashed for some drivers, such as Andre Melchers this evening. We'll see how things evolve and go into next week at Spa. We hope you'll join us in 1 week's time. It's been Andrew Cardinale along with JP Costa for this one. We had Zach Murtis for a while. Unfortunately, it seems like that he may have a medical situation going on, and certainly wish the best of luck to him. I know he's keeping himself safe. That's why he's no longer on social media with us, but hopefully he is safe, and of course we'll reach out to him in just a little bit, and certainly best wishes go his way. But on a happier note, once again, thanks for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. We hope you'll join us tomorrow night with coverage of the Outlaws Sim Series from Nashville.